Welcome back, everyone. It's me, Tiger Lily, and I have a special guest with me today in the studio.
We got a couple special guests today. What's up, everybody? We're back. It's back. It's time for GDQ and Antonline today. I am so freaking excited. It is, there's something in the air, right, when it comes to new console launch. I see some friends hanging out with us today in chat. We got Will. By the way, not my fault that I'm late today. I'm just going to throw that out there. We've got Cool Cat. We've got all sorts of new faces here hanging out with us today. We are celebrating the partnership between Antonline and GDQ to show off the launch of the Switch 2 and of some speedruns. Lily, take me through it.
Yes, we are so excited for the Nintendo Switch 2 launching on Antonline today that we are going to bring you an amazing show. We have a partnership today with Games Done Quick. If you don't know who they are, let me tell you more. Thor?
Okay, you're throwing it back at me. Yeah, so GDQ, this is actually kind of a little bit of a surreal experience for me because you know a thing or two about my sleeping habits. I go to bed and I usually do one or two different things. Either I'm listening to Warhammer lore, for the Emperor, or I've got GDQ on the background as I go to sleep and listen to some Dragon Warrior runs and stuff like that. So getting to be even a small part of today's show, for me, is kind of like a dream come true. So I'm very excited for today's broadcast, for sure.
That's amazing. And we're going to continue playing new Nintendo Switch 2 games throughout the week. So Antonline, we broadcast every single day of the week. Tomorrow, for example, we have Stormbreaker. He'll be continuing his Pokémon Scarlet playthrough with you guys, which I know you've been enjoying. So here, twitch.tv/Antonline, you can catch the newest in gaming, the newest in technology every single day of the week. You can also find amazing deals like the bundles that we put with the Nintendo Switch 2.
I see we have a bunch of good friends here today calling out the Naruto shirt. Thank you so much, Wonder J. We've got SNK in here as well. Like I said, we've got a lot of great friends joining us today for today's stream. Yeah, I'm just excited, right? Like I said, there's something in the air about a new console launch. I got to see some pictures online of everybody kind of standing in line. And of course, make sure you guys are tuned into our socials because Antonline is dropping all the news about the Switch 2. So if you haven't picked one up yet, Antonline is going to be your best place to go ahead and grab one of those. But it's all about community here today, right? Antonline likes to give back, and who better than a big partner like GDQ to celebrate just community in general. So we've got, what speedruns are we looking at today, Tiger Lily?
We have Pokémon Scarlet, and then also
Legend of Zelda?
Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
Tears of the Kingdom. I have to get it right this time. So Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, which I'm really excited for. So Games Done Quick does speedruns. I used to watch them at DreamHack, and it was just so amazing seeing what they're able to do. So I'm excited to share that magic with everybody in chat. And we love Nintendo. Games Done Quick loves Nintendo. So here on Antonline, we're doing all things Nintendo during the launch day. Did anybody secure their console today or last night? It was wild.
It was pretty, like I said, it's always a kind of a stamp in time when it comes out with the consoles, right? I can't believe we're on the Switch 2 though. What year is it? I got gray hair coming in. I remember the N64. You actually posed a question to me last time. What games are you excited for the Switch 2 coming out?
For me, on this Nintendo Switch 2, so at the end of the year, Pokemon. So I'm excited for the holiday season because we're getting a new Pokemon game. What about you? I'm all about the Donkey Kongs, right? So I actually, took a trip to Japan a little while ago, and I hit the button to kind of cross the road, and I heard do-do-do, do-do-do-do. And I was like, what? Wait a second, that's Donkey Kong. And so that's always kind of had a special moment in my heart for sure, whether it's the old cool school soundtrack and that stupid minecart level. So I'm excited to see the Switch 2, what they bring to the forefront with their new Donkey Kong. Being able to just destroy the terrain, I'm a big fan of that for sure. Well, I'm real excited. So Antonline is your destination for all things video games and technology. And then today, we're going to introduce you to some awesome speedrunners. But before I do that, I do need to toss that to church so church can take over.
Are you saying you got to take me to church, Lily? Is that the cue right there? Baby, take me to church. I want to meet this person. Yeah.
I wish that was the Hello, everybody. Welcome. I am here representing Games Done Quick. Games Done Quick, we are a charity speedrun marathon. We raise money for various charities through speedrunning. Both of you have said, we've got some great speedruns here. So we're going to be starting off with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet on the Switch 2 in beautiful 60 FPS. I'll hand it right over to the both of you if you want to introduce yourselves.
Everyone, my name is Etiquette. I've been speedrunning for almost 12 years now. Been on GDQ a few times, both Hotfix and mainline events. Really excited to be here playing some Scarlet. And with me, I've got wonderful commentator Dino.
Hey, I'm Dynam. I've been speedrunning Pokemon Switch games for about 2 years now. Emphasis on this lovely game that we have right over here. So I'm really excited to be here on Hotfix with Antonline and coming this pretty cool run.
All right. So to start things off, this is going to be a Starfall Street speedrun. You're also going to notice that we are not at the beginning of the game. That is because we are doing what we call a single story run. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is broken up into 3 different storylines. You've got Victory Road, which is like your traditional gym badges. You've got Starfall Street, which is what we're doing here, which is sort of the like evil team storyline. And then you also have the Path of Legends, which is kind of like how you upgrade your ride Pokemon Koraidon. This is going to be just that one storyline, and those categories we start after the school section. So we've already gone through school, we have our ride. It just cuts out like 50 minutes or less on the Switch 2 of tutorial stuff. So we've got ourselves a Quaxley and a Lechonk. We'll talk about how we got those. And then everything else is pretty vanilla. So I think if there isn't anything else, I think we can get started.
Yeah, we're good whenever you're ready.
All right. So go ahead and start in 3, 2, 1, go. All right. So I'm going to do a slightly modified version of the route today. The Switch 2, needless to say, it is significantly faster for Scarlet and Violet. And so there's going to be a lot of experimenting, a lot of things like that going on over the next few days to see things that, you know, the game came out in 2022, so like things that may not have been faster before might be faster now. So, yeah, so just really testing some things out and going from there.
Yes, thankfully Pokemon Scarlet and Violet were one of the games that were slated for a free performance update. And as you can see, it is absolutely stunning to see everything in solid fashion, like all the Pokemon that are like strewn about. Granted, it lets us run into more Pokemon, but it's really a sight to behold, honestly.
Yeah. So one of the first things you're going to notice that I did is I am doing these sort of like backward jumps up slopes. That is some speed tech that we use. It basically lets you climb slopes that are steep enough for you to slide down, but not steep enough for you to climb on. And the game basically allows you to jump if you're sliding forward. If you're sliding backward, it does not. So all you have to do is turn around and then sort of mash jump to get up there. Well, you'll see that a few times during the run.
Yeah, one of them will be coming up fairly shortly. Just doing some movement here, hoping to find a bird, actually, because Starfall Street being one of the single story categories of Scarlet Violet, as Etiquette mentioned, there's Victory Road, Standard Gym Rush, there's Path of Legends, which is going around beating all of the large Titan Pokemon, following Arven's storyline. This one in particular is pretty interesting because it introduces the mechanic of star barrages. In Scarlet and Violet, there are star bases, and in order to tackle these star bases and beat the bosses, you need a minimum of 3 Pokemon. So as Etiquette showed up earlier, we have our starter Quaxley, a Lechonk that we caught in the tutorial sections of the video game, and now Etiquette is catching our 3rd Pokemon, which is going to be a Rookidee, which is a normal type or a flying type bird that will eventually evolve into a very strong steel flying Corviknight.
Yeah, so if you're seeing somebody go for record in this category, you'll actually not see them catch a Rookidee, or at least there's certainly not one right now. You'd actually see us try to catch a Corvisquire, which is the 2nd stage, a little bit later on. It comes at a higher level, one less evolution you got to sit through, but there is a chance that they don't spawn. So it's, for something like this, it's better to just snag the early bird.
The Rookidee doesn't get early bird as ability,
Okay.
I don't think. It's
I realized after I said it, I was like...
Somebody can fact check me in chat on that.
Yeah. All right, so we are going to be doing a lot of this kind of movement and collecting candies. Scarlet and Violet is a very open world game. We are basically, after we're done here, we're going to immediately go to one of the highest level areas of the game without doing any leveling. And the reason we can do that is because there are no trainers in the overworld, no forced battles, I should say. There are trainers, but you don't have to fight them. And yeah, so we're gonna basically collect a bunch of rare candies. We're gonna level ourselves up really, 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 really high, and then sort of take things on. But it does mean this beginning section is kind of long without a lot of battles. So to kind of make it a little bit more exciting, what we're doing is a modified version of the candy route where that first fly and picking up those 2 candies over by the lighthouse are actually not normally required. Instead, I'm doing that because I'm going to go ahead and fight the first Titan, Cloth, because Cloth gives us the ability to dash. Dashing lets you go a lot faster. The downside is it is obviously a fight you have to get through, as well as a kind of long cutscene afterwards. So we try any category that we can skip Cloth, we try to. But like I said, we're not exactly sure how a lot of timing lines up with the new Switch, so just giving things a try.
It was very exciting. There was a lot of discourse in the Switch Pokemon speedrunning community last night when the Switch 2 got released during the midnight releases, and everybody was like testing out things and doing any percent runs to see how things have changed. One of the Japanese runners in the community by the name of Carolio did a run last night and basically saved half an hour over the original Switch 1 route, which is absurd.
Absolutely absurd. But yeah, so we're just gonna go ahead and take out the Cloth here. Phase 2 of Cloth is always a little bit of a trouble for any main Pokemon that you're trying to use. Cloth has an interesting ability called
Anger Shell.
Anger Shell. I was going to say Shell Armor, but that's a different ability. Anger Shell, which basically, once it gets below half health, its defense and special defense drop, which is really good for us, but its attack, special attack, and speed both double. The stat changes themselves aren't really the problem. The problem is that there's a really long animation associated with all of those stat increases and decreases. So you never want to almost KO the Cloth. You basically want to KO it from over half health. Every Pokemon has kind of their own way of doing it. Here I'm going to use Workup, which is going to increase my stats by 1 stage, which is basically a 50% buff. And then I should be able to one-shot basically from here.
Yeah, Anger Shell will trigger at half health, so being able to just knock it out in one large swing like that will save a decent amount of time.
Oh yeah.
Goodbye,
right.
Big Crab.
So we are now going to sit through a cutscene. So I guess now is probably a good time to talk about sort of how we set up the save file, because that's actually something that has changed in the last 2 months or so.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So in the last couple of months, there's been a little bit of discourse about setting up these sort of single story setup after school, after the tutorial saves, just because the first like 45 to 50 minutes of the game play out roughly the same every single time. You start out your house, you get your starter Pokemon, you go over to the academy to start school, you meet up all of the main characters, and then you get your right Pokemon, and then you head out on your big open world journey. Just to alleviate some of that, the Switch Pokemon community has set rules such that you can just start after school and after the tutorial, which means that you have to get your starter, and some of these single story categories require Pokemon that have really good stats, really good IVs or individual values that determine their stat growth, and it is kind of luck of the draw whether you roll into a good starter. If you get a bad one, you kind of have to reset, save, do things all over again, keep rolling for a new starter. What has happened recently is that there was a vote to basically set these saves by trading in an egg. What trading in an egg does is that so normally if you trade a Pokemon, it will get traded experience. It'll get a 1.5 boost to experience depending on the region, which kind of messes up with the levels. And then you also have to take into consideration that you need badges in order to make sure that higher level traded Pokemon will still obey you, as in most Pokemon games. If you trade in an egg, however, the trainer ID will link to your save file, basically. So it's a traded Pokemon, quote unquote, but it isn't a traded Pokemon. So it basically acts as if your own. That, along with the fact that if you can breed Pokemon with basically just try and get the stats that you want, pretty much, through breeding. So we can have a really good Pokemon that we can trade in and basically make the RNG of getting a starter much, much, much less than it normally would be. And again, if you want to tell your story about setting up your file today, just as an example.
Yeah, I was going to say, so one of the really nice things about the Switch 2 is that it has the ability to transfer like all the data from your Switch 1 into your Switch 2, so you don't have to like set everything up again. I'm the kind of person, whenever I get a new phone, or in this case, the Switch 2, I like setting it up from scratch. Just, anything I'm not using, I just get rid of, that kind of stuff. But because of that, none of my save files transferred over. So I actually created this file this morning. Now, I did already have eggs ready to send in, but I essentially started this process at 8 o'clock this morning, my time. And by 11:40, I had already finished a run. So not just set up my save file with a effectively perfect starter, I had already done the hour-and-a-half run. So it is so much easier to get the stats you want, and everyone's kind of on an even playing field, because a lot of times you end up with some people just have a better duck than some other people. And there's really not much you can do about that unless you want to sit there and, grind out the first 5 minutes of the game for 3+ hours sometimes. So this solution's a lot better. This is actually perfect. So we're going to be doing this pretty long movement section, like I mentioned. And one of the worst things that you can see during this movement section is a blizzard. We have a blizzard right now, and this is running silky smooth.
It's so beautiful.
We do still have to worry about the fact that, there's a lot of like white dust on my screen that is a little bit harder to see through, as well as if a lovely Pokemon like a Drifblim were to show up, it's just going to get blown across the screen. But there's no longer this sort of stuttering that you might have seen on the original Switch. This feels really, really nice.
I think we take a little bit for granted that normally we're talking to a lot of people who are familiar with speedrunning. So if there's anybody in chat who has any questions about speedrunning in general or this game, feel free to ask and we will be happy to answer.
Absolutely.
Yes, please do. Speaking of things that pop up in the ground, Reavert are notorious in this section. They just blend in with the snow, especially if there's a blizzard, because they just pop out of the ground and they just hey, here's this little candle coming out of the ground. What's this? Oh, it's a little ghost puppy.
All right, here's a really cool trick. I did a smaller version of this earlier, but basically this game has this really awesome feature where if you fall a pretty long distance, the game will allow you to warp back up to where you were, but it kind of saves your progress of whatever you did while you were down there. You only have a few seconds, but what I did there is I actually touched that Pokemon Center. So now I can fly back there. But I didn't have to continue my movement from the bottom. I'm able to warp back up and continue the movement in sort of a faster way. All right, this is like actually tough to see.
I mean, if you were staying in the middle of a blizzard going like 60 miles per hour, I would imagine it would be tough to see as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's true. Are there a lot of run enders in this game? Right, specifically the speedrun, I guess.
Not especially. It's going to depend on which category you're running. This category, the last couple fights can go not the best. But usually there's a lot of time wasters. The Switch Pokemon games are full of these kind of fights where it's like, you're never gonna like really lose your run to a certain fight, but man, you could lose 30, 45, even a minute sometimes. So it's really sort of depending. This run has a fight that's a great example. The second star base we do is going to be the fairy base, unless a very specific thing happens. And the fairy base, we're going to be setting up X attacks, which we'll explain when we buy those. And the Ortega can kind of counter those X attacks by using a move called Charm. And it's like every charm I get, I just have to use another X attack. And if he decides to charm 4 times, that's 4 extra turns I'm just wasting, sort of offsetting what he's been doing to me.
Right. There's definitely less of a risk of like wiping to any given fight. Even if you do, it's pretty easy for most fights in Scarlet Violet. This category, in particular, I guess it would just be the Clavel and the Penny fights at the end, where you can just like go back in. But yeah, it's just mostly time wasters rather than, oh no, I have to start all the way over from the beginning.
All right. So here we're going to buy X items. X items are, if you've ever seen a Pokemon move that is like, oh, the attack dropped or the attack went up or things like that, that's talking about the stat stages. Every stat in the game, aside from HP, has stat stages. And you can essentially think of each stage as 50%. So if I'm at +1 attack, it means my attack is 50% stronger. If I'm at +2, it means it is 100% stronger, and then so on and so on. X items in this game are going to increase a given stat by 2 stages. Yeah, so it's effectively adding an extra 100% to the stat. So our first X attack that we use in a battle is going to double our attack. The second one will triple it. And this is really, really common strategy used in a lot of Pokemon speedruns. It's 1 turn and you can just double your output for the entire fight. It's really, really nice. It's, I guess, worth mentioning that X items used to be only 1 stage, but it was changed in Generation 7 to be 2 stages. So. All right. So this is, we learned, this tunnel can be problematic with all of its spawns. And of course, the game is making me a liar, because nothing is spawning, but...
There's a family of Salandit right smack in the middle of the tunnel.
Right, that
and
was
on the right.
Not as bad. But the first time I went through that tunnel, it was like there was a wall in front of me. Because, yeah, I guess one of the other upgrades, obviously, we're all talking about the frame rate, load times, things like that. They also made it so more Pokemon will spawn. Which, I mean, if they've got the performance to use it, may as well, right? But with more Pokemon spawning, it does mean that there are more opportunities to run into something by accident. Luckily, we haven't had some of the infamous, like, invisible Pokemon that you kind of hit their hitbox and it comes out of nowhere. We haven't had any of that in the 13 hours that we've had the thing, but... it's definitely noticeable, the increased spawns.
Yeah, if you've seen the Nintendo Switch 2 trailer for Scarlet Violet, I think one of the scenes that they did was in the really big lake in the northwest region of Paldea with a whole bunch of like Slowpoke and whatnot and Gyarados. It is like that everywhere, even in these speedruns. Yeah, Glossiota Gym.
Did not think of where I was supposed to fly.
Yeah, all of this movement that we're doing, not only are we getting candies to beef up our Pokemon later, but we're also tagging all of these centers, these Pokemon centers, so that we can fly back to them later on to tackle all of the bases in their respective regions.
And this is the last bit of movement, I guess, before we're going to do our first Star Barrage, which is exciting. The first Star Barrage we're going to be doing is, look how many Pokemon are here. There's so many.
Oh my gosh, there's like 7 packs of Pyroar here. I've never seen anything like this.
Wow. Anyways, the first one we're going to be doing is actually the highest level one. And of the 18 badges you can get in the game, it is the second highest level of all of them. And we're going to be doing it first because, I mean, as you may have noticed if you've been keeping track, we have grabbed a lot of experience and rare candies. By the end of this, our Corviknight, or our Rookidee is going to, I'm going to tag this, I don't need it, but just in case. Our Corviknight is going to be level 38 from, I think it's like 11 or 14 or something. And then our Quaxley, who is currently level 26, is going to be all the way up at 64. Which might seem overkill, but it's actually kind of not, believe it or not. That's not a slope.
Let this be a lesson that eating copious amounts of sugar helps your growth. I am not a doctor.
All right. So coming up here, this is one of, there are probably like 3 areas in the main game. DLC has a couple too, but 3 areas in the main game that I think most people would say like, oh yeah, the Switch one kind of struggled with. This is one of those areas, and I mean, there's so many Pokemon spawned, all this stuff being rendered, and this is glossy smooth. All right. I have not done a single split.
It's all right. Stream can't see your live splits.
I was gonna say, I've got 6 splits that I've already skipped.
So I know Etiquette mentioned like that this is the quote unquote evil team storyline. They're not really evil. They're just kind of misunderstood. Team Star for the Starfall Street storyline is kind of this like ragtag bunch of misfits that get in trouble with the Academy on occasion, and they've kind of set up their own bases around Paldea in kind of like this sort of like rebellious sort of act. Really, they're just misunderstood kids who want to be accepted. I could resonate with that.
Also, I see a question in the chat. Think the performance will open up new routes in the future? I doubt we're going to see any like major change, but I would be shocked if we don't see anything. Especially any percent. There are a lot of things we did explicitly because doing it like the optimal way would be either extra load times or laggier. Specifically, while you're going through the gym challenge, there are a couple of fights that you have to do against your rival, and which town you do it in sort of depends on where where you currently are, because the hold on, I need to make sure I'm menuing this correctly.
Yeah, I can take over while you menu.
Please.
So for example, in the Victory Road storyline, after you beat 3 gyms, you fight your rival, or on your 3rd gym, you fight your rival Nimona, essentially. We used to have it so that, or I think the current route has you fight Nimona in Medali, which is the normal type gym, Larry. It's a very like, not a lot of textures, not a lot of like surrounding areas. We used to fight that in Lavencia, which is Iona's gym town, which has a lot of like bright lights, huge buildings, lots of things around, and we intentionally rerouted that to mitigate like the lag that comes with the fight, essentially out in the open area. Now, because of the enhanced performance, we we could probably just go back to that immediately, honestly.
Yeah.
There's also some, I think you had mentioned earlier that there are some sort of things that you could do with menus and collecting candies that allow you to alleviate some flies here and there.
Yeah.
But because of how fast the hardware goes, we can just fly anywhere we want, and it's not really a problem.
Yeah, basically there's a couple different candy routes that all kind of end up at the same end level. And you basically you can sorry, I don't know why this is so hard to menu while I'm talking. Some of them like add like the current fastest one has an extra menu where you're like giving candies to Pokemon, but flies one less time. So like you do one less fly menu. But you're gonna see after this, I've already done some flies, but we'll try to point it out. The fly menu in this is so much faster, and the load, once you've like selected your destination, you fly there, it is like 2 seconds where it used to be probably like 8 or 9 or even more. It is remarkable. Okay, so yeah, we got all of our candies. Apologize for stammering through that. It was a little bit weird because because I did cloth early, I got different numbers of candies, and so I was a little thrown off, but we got through it. Everybody's at the right level. I've got the right moves, I think.
To be fair, that is the biggest menu in the speedrun.
So now this is going to be our first team starbase. Every starbase is going to be roughly the same in terms of the order of events. So every base has a fight at the gate. These fights are generally nothing special. There's one weird thing that might happen in one of these fights. After that is going to be the actual Star Barrage. So this game has a cool mechanic. It's called the Let's Go mechanic. Not to be confused with Pokemon Let's Go. And the Let's Go mechanic is where you can send out your Pokemon to like kind of auto battle on its own. There's a lot of actual like math and stuff that we've learned over the years about how this all works. But basically what it comes down to is if you have a type advantage, even if your level advantage is not very good, if you have a type advantage over the Pokemon that you're auto battling, you will generally win. And so we have to go through these bases and KO 30 of Team Star's Pokemon. Once you've KO'd all 30 of the Pokemon, you can finally fight the boss at the end. And that kind of concludes that starbase. There is some interesting tech that you can do during the Star Barrages. We call them stop and goes. I will attempt to do them, not a lot, because the controller I'm currently using has a little bit of like flick back, where if you let go, if you're holding up and then let go, it like will do a little bit of a down input, which kind of throws things off. But it's basically a way for us to cancel the animation that is sort of sending out the Pokemon. So I'll show it without doing a stop and go, and then I'll try to do one. So this is what the animation normally looks like. You kind of stop and your character will send them out. And then that was a failed attempt of one.
Surely number 5 will work.
That's what I'm saying.
Surely number 6 will work.
Corviknight is not getting good luck when it comes to its... All right, there we go. All right, the animation happened, but it didn't actually send out the Pokemon, so I'm kind of mad. Poor Lechonk did not do very well.
Yeah, although we dumped all of our experience candies into Quackable and Corviknight, Lechonk's still level 8 right now, so it's just kind of along for the ride.
Yeah, it's literally there because we need 3 Pokemon, not because of anything else. All right,
yeah,
I'm going
the idea
to...
of,
there we go, finally.
Nice. Yeah, the idea with stop and goes is that you move forward, and then as you basically, right before you hit the R button to perform your Let's Go, you reset your stick to neutral, and then it will just cancel the animation of like sending your right arm out, like go attack the Pokemon, and then you can just keep moving directly after that, saving a little bit of time.
Yeah, the main issue is because you have to go back to neutral. The controller I'm using likes to flick back to down instead of doing it appropriately, so it's just a little bit trickier. But yeah, that's basically what every star base looks like. That one is the hardest one, both in terms of layout as well as because it's the highest level, it's going to be a bit tougher for our Pokemon to get through. But yeah, so this is Team Boss Eri. Eri has a team of 5 Pokemon. I guess we didn't say, this is the fighting base. So every Pokemon here is going to be fighting type in some way, shape, or form. And one of the moves that Quaquaval learns is a move called Acrobatics. Acrobatics is only 55 base power. Most good moves you'd consider like 90 base power or better. So 55 sounds really bad, but it has a secondary effect where it actually doubles in power if you're not holding a held item. And fortunately for us, there's no really good held item for us to have at this point. So Acrobatics becomes 110 power and it becomes an amazing move. So yeah.
Yeah, here's that first instance of an X attack that Edo was mentioning earlier. It's basically a sword stance, if you really think about it, for those of you who are more familiar with moves rather than X items. So up to +2 attack here. We'll need to go to +4.
Yep.
So Edo will need to use another X attack later on in the fight for the surprise 5th Pokemon.
Yeah. We don't do both of our setups on Pissimian because we basically set up on Pissimian the first one because we need the +2 attack to get through Annihilate, and Annihilate hits really hard. So we set up on Pissimian, and then we're going to set up another one here on Lucario. It hits a little bit less hard, and I believe it has a better move animation. I don't... Actually, is it using close combat as well? It uses Aura Sphere.
It uses Aura Sphere here,
which is a better animation. Animations cannot be turned off in this game, so it is not inconsequential when it comes to routing to make sure that you have fast animations for your moves.
Yeah, in the any percent route, Flamigo is used, and I think Flamigo uses like 2 flying moves and 2 fighting moves, which you think you want better coverage than that, but it turns out that we just need a fast move and a strong move, really, in each of its types. Also, we just beat up a car. Shout outs to Street Fighter 2.
We did just beat up a car. So I don't actually have my old splits because I did technically PB last night or this morning.
I could pull up my splits and compare.
But yeah, that Eri fight, the fight alone. So I split after the barrage is done, and then I did the fight. If I remember right, it's like 20 seconds time save for the exact same sequence of events in battle. Is just 20 seconds faster. I am behind technically because I did a slower start. Like you don't normally beat Cloth. But we might save a lot of that time back because now that we have the ability to dash, going to each starbase is going to be a little bit faster. All right. So we are now going to go to the second highest level in terms of the star bases. This is going to be the Fairy base. The Fairy base is generally one of those that is tough to get through. The actual fight at the end is... There are some mean moves on some of those Pokemon, so hopefully we can get through it. But we have a fun strategy to sort of finish out the battle, which I'm excited to show off.
Oh, yes.
But in the meantime, we are going to go up to probably one of the most improved fights when it comes to the Switch 2. If you have the time and are watching this run and are maybe interested in Pokemon speedruns or anything like that, I implore you to watch one of the leaderboard times within the last year and a half, and watch specifically the fight on the way into this base, and then come back and rewatch what you're about to see here and just notice the difference. If you know, you know.
So, oh geez. Of course, right when I'm about to talk, it does that. We are here. We're celebrating the Switch 2. What are y'all excited for on the Switch 2?
So I am definitely excited for Pokemon Legends ZA. I know it's going to be both a Switch 1 and a Switch 2 release, but obviously I'm going to put work into the Switch 2 version. I am also, I think I heard, was it Thor in the opening, talk about the Donkey Kong, the new Donkey Kong game, which I am very excited for. I am a lover of DK64, and I know it's not going to be the same game, but I'm very excited.
Yes, shout outs to DK64randomizer.com, which when we're not doing Pokemon speedrunning, we are doing some Donkey Kong seeds over there, which is pretty cool. I myself personally, not only I love Pokemon, so ZA obviously big ticket for me. Who loves Kirby Air Ride? Because I am so excited for Kirby Air Riders to come out. I screamed when that intro came on during the direct.
I am very excited for that. That is in the past decade, one of the games that I have been most hyped for hearing.
Exactly. I couldn't tell you how many hours and days I've spent in City Trial just messing around with my friends, doing local multiplayer growing up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's the same for everybody, but yeah, we back in my when I was a kid, that was the go-to game. It was Kirby Air Ride.
All right.
I'm excited. I'm sure everybody else in the world. I'm excited for Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that just got announced, didn't it?
Within the past 24 hours.
I was gonna say it was yesterday.
Yeah.
That's a pretty wild. I was definitely not expecting that one.
And maybe after this, we get a true sequel.
You never know.
All right. So, Starbase number 2. This one is really interesting. So this Starbase has a weird layout. It's basically a giant circle, and there's this giant water lake area in the middle that you should never go into because the frame rate dips, and it's just better for you to go anywhere but the middle of this area. This is I didn't do this ahead of time. I just sort of sent it, and this is going so well.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, in prior runs, it would actually be tech to try and avoid looking at water because the Switch 1 had difficulty loading in and rendering things with water, but this is so silky smooth. I honestly can't believe it.
I'm actually blown away. And that is a 905. I don't know if I've ever gotten a 905.
What? With running through the lake.
And that was improvising. So every base we kind of have a set path that we take because the groups of Pokemon that spawn are going to be different every time, but where they physically spawn on the map are going to be roughly the same every time. So you can kind of be all right, do this one, then go to the left and get this guy, and then go up on the cliff side to get this one. So I was completely improvising that. I just sort of went to the middle and just started throwing my Pokemon at other Pokemon, and it worked perfectly. So once that gets optimized and like an actual route through the area is found, that's going to be one of the fastest bases. All right. So this is the fight I was talking about earlier. I'm going to use an X attack. If the Azumarill uses Charm, it basically completely offsets what I did. There we go.
Attack go up, attack go down.
And attack go up.
Yeah, ideally we want to see play rough here from Azumarill, and attack go down. I think the maximum amount of charms that I've seen from this Azumarill is like 7.
Don't say that. If I see too many, I will have to figure out a way to fix it, but that is good. And we did not get a defense drop or a attack drop, which is good. And then I am acrobatics. Okay. Sometimes Pokemon notes are like a flowchart, effectively. Like, if this happens, do this. If this happens, do that. And so I was just like making sure I'm on the right line. Like,
yeah, you're fine here.
I'm actually going to do what I did in my run earlier today by accident, and acrobatics this and then wave crash the other two. I am using, full disclosure, it is perfectly allowed, but I am using a turbo controller, and it is really easy to accidentally like click through. So like I'm hitting A to go to fight, and then I need to pick my move, and it's really easy. Oh, that actually could have been bad.
Wave crash, yeah.
Yeah. It's really easy to accidentally click all the way through the menu and select the wrong move, so I kind of gave myself like 2 chances to pick the correct move. But we didn't talk about Wave Crash. Wave Crash is an incredibly powerful move. I want to say it's like 120 base power, but it has recoil. So a third of the damage you deal will be dealt back to you in recoil. These Revivrooms have incredibly inflated HP values. Like this has like 400 HP or something silly like that. 07 to the duck.
Goodbye, bird.
Goodbye, bird.
Yeah, with Quaxley, all of the starters have the same like type of ability. Quaxley has what's called Torrents, which is when you're below 1/3 HP, your water moves get a 50% power boost. It's the same for Fire with Blaze and with Grass with Overgrow. So we kind of take advantage of Wave Crash there and its recoil damage to get ourselves within the range of Torrent in order to get enough of a boost so that we can one-hit KO the Fairy Starmobile there. Quackful does go down, but thankfully, right before you enter every starbase, you get a free heal. So in the long run, it doesn't really matter. Thankfully, we have Corviknight to pick up the slack for entering the next starbase, which is going to be lower level, and because our Corviknight is level 38, it should be able to take out the guard pretty easily.
And Steel Wing is in slot 1, not 4.
Steel Wing is in slot 1 this time. Yep.
All right.
So there's a question in the chat. Is the Power Glove a supported speedrun controller? You can speedrun with whatever controller you want. There are games that people have speedrun. I don't. Obviously, usually older stuff. I don't know that you can get a Power Glove working on new systems, but if you can, I support it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like very silly the things that I've seen. Like I think what was it? At last Games Done Quick, somebody was playing Elden Ring with a saxophone. Do I remember this correctly?
Yes.
Yes, you do.
Dr. Dudes
on the saxophone.
If you can wire it, you can do anything.
We've had SM64 on drum kit.
Yep.
We had New Super Mario Bros. Wii on a. I don't actually know. I don't remember specifically what it was, but it was motion control attached to the head, and I think like piano pedals or something. But that was really cool. So yeah, if you can get the inputs to work, you can speedrun with it.
what would be the most absolutely unhinged thing to speedrun a Pokemon game with? Trying to think outside the box of like what's already been done. DDR pads, saxophones, musical instruments.
That peripheral for Pokemon Go?
Oh, the Pokeball Plus.
The Pokeball Plus.
Yes.
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah,
I've done it.
Which is a legitimate controller for Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, by the way.
Oh, really? Okay, never mind. That's not unhinged then. I take it back.
Oh, it's kind of unhinged. There's one button.
Okay, no, all right. I take it back.
Somebody in chat said the thing that I was going to say is that people have like wired up circuits to potatoes or like various food objects that can send electrical signals and just like beat potatoes like Donkey Konga or something like that.
Now we just need to wire up a controller in Minecraft and have those inputs be read in a different game.
Also, I'm now trying to think of like things that aren't even controllers. Like, what if you would not be safe? I do not recommend trying this. What if you like wired up like a microwave keypad and played a game on like just using the buttons?
So, not at all related to a microwave, but you did remind me of something. We had somebody speedrun. I'm assuming it was Alien Isolation based on who it was, but they were speedrunning using their bike.
Huh.
Impressive. Do you like shift up, shift down for inputs or something like that?
I wish I had a better response for you.
You cycle to pick the moves?
Okay.
Wow.
So okay, so every time you pedal, you move in the game.
That's wild. I have questions. Same.
Refrigerator percent, playing it on a smart fridge. You can do anything if you put your mind to it.
All I'm hearing is a lot of good ideas.
So true.
Okay, it was Undertale for the bike.
All right, this is the lowest level base. This is the dark base. I believe the game expects you to be here at level like 20-ish. So this one should be an absolute breeze. Unfortunately, Lechonk still can't help very much, but he's doing his best.
It can... I'm trying to think like what the best matchup would be for Lechonk here. Like maybe Sableye even? Because... Goes normal... I don't know.
Well, here we're finding out. No. that did not work.
Oops. Note to self, do not send out Lechonk against Sableye.
All right, I feel the need to just YOLO all of my movement here because it like doesn't matter apparently.
Yeah, normally, especially for Dark and I believe the Poison base that is coming up next, you want to end, well, you used to want to end at very specific locations within the base because for whatever reason, if you end outside of a certain area, a load time will basically be a lot longer than if you had ended the base within that certain area. Don't care about that anymore.
Yeah. Anecdotally, we tested it one time. Just to be clear.
Sample size of one. Fun fact about Yakumo, he is in universe. He is the one to make all of the themes for these Team Star battles and boss fights and whatnot. It's a very, very diegetic, I believe is the term.
Oh yeah, these cars are
Somebody
great.
asked this earlier. Yeah, like what's the deal with the cars?
Okay, so Revavroom is a Pokemon in the game. It is a car. We may have seen some during our movement section, like especially near the end of it. These are like special versions. These Revavrooms are. What am I doing here? Close combat.
You can close combat. It's
I can
fine.
print any move basically. So these Revavrooms are monotype of the type that the Pokemon is, or the base is. So normally Revavroom is a poison steel type. We're actually going to see one in the next base. But it is, this particular one is dark type. They also have different abilities depending on which base you're in. The other thing that's really interesting is like they're not like true like Pokemon. They're actually like, their stats are effectively set. So it's not like, normally what happens is like that level 9 Pawniard has a set of IVs that are like underlining what its stats end up being. So it has the same stats every time, but it's not the stats that are set. It's like the stat values that will calculate to the correct stat value. That may have been confusing, but I promise it makes sense. These Revavrooms don't have base stats. They're just like, this one has 120 speed or something like that. Which is really weird. And it took us a while to like actually pinpoint that and figure that out. Luckily, Pokemon is like one of those game series that has like the most like documented stuff about the inner workings of the games, because people have put so much time into researching these games from both like a competitive standpoint as well as like the single player experiences. The speedrunners are all on top of like stats, stat calculations, damage calculations, as well as like there's a whole like modding community that, you know, there's like difficulty mods and things like that. So it's really like there's so much information about this game out there that it's almost hard as a Pokemon runner to like go to a different game. Like I've been, the last couple weeks, I've been absolutely obsessed about Expedition 33. And it's so hard to route a game that you don't have all this information. Like, I don't know how people do it with like a brand new game anymore. Like that isn't Pokemon. Like it's mind blowing. But hit him with the spreadsheets. Yeah, I have so many spreadsheets over the years.
If you would like to describe etiquette in one word, it would be spreadsheets.
It would be. I think I counted once that I've got like 130 untitled spreadsheets just sitting in my Google Drive.
If you want a more in-universe explanation for the Starmobiles, I think it's like a Revavroom plus, I want to say it's 2 Vroom powered by, it's either like Charcadet or Armarouge. Yeah. After every starbase, you get a little bit of backstory into each of the base bosses or the base leaders, and they kind of explain how they make the Starmobiles. I think they were originally made to like, as not to be like used necessarily, but as like a display of force, I think, just to say like, hey, we're strong and things like that. They're never actually going to be used. They just look really, really cool. How do you think they got the funding for those?
Yeah,
They're just students. Wait, no. Ortega. Oh, yeah, Ortega funded all of this. I'm pretty sure, because like his dad has like it's like a big shot company CEO or something like that. Don't ask how I know all of this.
Yeah, the funny thing about like the like one Revavroom with like 2 Charcadets or whatever like it was, is like there's one of them where like some of the stats line up if you were to take those and like add all their base stats together. Like it was weird where we were like, oh, this must make sense because it kind of works. All right, so yeah, this is the poison base. This area of the game is called Tag Tree Thicket. Knowing how the game might lag a little bit, you might be able to infer a nickname that this area has been given. But once again, we've said it like 100 times at this point. It is night and day between the Switch 1 and Switch 2. If you weren't here at the beginning of the run when we were kind of explaining it, the frame rate and the loads are all improved. And it's to the point where the any percent run for this game, which is around 5.5 hours, has already been brought down by about 30 minutes. And the console's been out for 12 hours. Like, it is remarkable how improved this game experience is. Like, both visually as well as just like the general experience of like, I'm playing through a game, I don't want it to feel a certain way. It is truly impressive.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful experience now.
And it's going to take some getting used to, just because like there are some things that, like I said, we do explicitly to avoid lag. Like if you've watched a lot of other Scarlet Violet runs, one of the things that a lot of people would do is like you can like zoom in the camera, and just like we would zoom in the camera and point it at the ground and like only tilt up a little bit so we can see where we're going. But like none of that's needed anymore. I'm sure it might still help a little bit, but
yeah, I didn't pay attention to Corolio's 80% run, but because the game or this run is so long at 80%, we actually reset the game at a certain point, or like save and quit and then reload the game to prevent like memory leaks and things like that. I'm pretty sure we don't have to do that anymore, so that strictly saves like a solid minute and change.
all right, I'm doing a more traditional path here through the poison base. I probably didn't have to, because like we said, the path doesn't seem to matter anymore. But this is one base where we actually had found kind of early on in the games. It wasn't too long after the game came out. The thing about if you ended this star barrage like on the grass, basically, so like there's Pokemon over there and stuff. If you ended over there, you would have a load that's about 15 seconds longer than if you were to end in the middle where I just did. And that was something we tested this morning, and that doesn't happen anymore. So. All right. So this is Atticus. Oh, go ahead.
I was just seeing a question chat. Does this switch to make Violet viable again? Violet, all things equal, Violet should be the better game now, just due to
like the fights.
Certain fights, exactly.
Yeah. The only test run that anyone has done of Violet that at least most of us are aware of, unfortunately, some things never change, did have a little bit of an infinite load happen on one particular fight. It's something that happened before. It's not like it's a new thing that was added with the update. It's just sometimes you get a load that's just way longer than it's meant to be. And unfortunately, the run ended there. But it, if I remember right, it was like pretty on pace. So it at least wasn't losing time to Scarlet. But yeah, this is Atticus. This is where we're going to see a Revavroom and then the second one, which is kind of funny. So this one here that's about to come out is a normal one. This is a normal Pokemon with normal stats. It is Poison and Steel type, which is a really cool type, by the way, in my opinion. And so it is normal. But then the second one is a pure Poison type with Toxic Debris as its ability, which is not an ability that Revavroom normally gets. So
it's a very good case of don't talk to me or my son ever again.
And after this, one more base left.
I just had the thought of like, with the Switch 2 and all of the Pokemon loading in, shiny hunters are going to be, I feel like they're going to be ecstatic. I know there's going to be like more Pokemon that are loaded in and whatnot, but I feel like that just presents more opportunities for shinies. Granted, I do not know much about shiny hunting. All I know is that I like seeing Pokemon when I'm looking for Pokemon.
Yes. Yeah, more Pokemon should mean more chances, which is always good. That's why like there's like a disproportionate. A lot of people who come in may not watch a lot of Pokemon speedruns. Will come into a speedrunners chat and be like, "Oh, have you ever gotten a shiny while speedrunning?" Because it's a pretty rare thing. But like the sheer amount of Pokemon you see while speedrunning, you're gonna run into a few. But it's like a disproportionate amount of those shinies are in Pokemon Let's Go, Legends Arceus, and Scarlet Violet. Just because those are the games where shinies appear in the overworld. And even though you're not running into the Pokemon, you're still like seeing them. So more Pokemon just means more chances for it to be shiny.
So real quick, just in case there's anybody confused, I know there might be some Antonline regulars who are a little confused why we're here, or there might be some GDQ people who showed up and aren't quite sure what's going on here. We have partnered with Antonline. We're celebrating the Switch 2 launch. And for any of our folks who aren't aware, Antonline is the go-to destination for all things gaming and technology. So be sure to keep up with their social medias, all of their social media accounts for updates. You can join their gaming community every day on Twitch, here on their Twitch channel, obviously, where they share the best deals and the hottest gaming news. Or you can go to antonline.com/community to stay connected with them.
Oh. I'll hold off. Let's see.
Speaking of that, Church, we have breaking news. And I am so sorry, Etiquette, to take over the show from you, but we are here to tell you something super exciting.
I heard you guys doing another drop of the Switch 2. So Lily, tell me a little about that.
So Antonline has another drop of the Nintendo Switch 2s here in the next minute. So exactly 2:15 Eastern Standard Time, we will be dropping them. I am here to give you the news that it is happening. So we're flying in to tell you right now, Twitch. So make sure to get on there.
I know, because people have been struggling to get actually Switch 2s, and Antonline's doing everything in their power to make sure they have them available for you. And so we want to give you kind of an early Doppler warning. I'm pretty sure that's the scientific term for that, in case you've been looking for your Switch 2, because Antonline is definitely working out for you. And speaking of working out, how about this speedrun? I don't want to take up too much, but also these cars. I am just so like, what are these cars doing? And
are you not blown away by how gorgeous the game looks?
Yeah, it's it definitely doesn't look like Switch 1 for sure. And that's cool. That's awesome.
But this is your news, guys. Within the next minute, Antonline is dropping Nintendo Switch 2s. It's gonna drop here in a second, and there will be more drops throughout the day. So if you don't get it, don't worry, try again later today as well. But it just went live. Go over to antonline.com/Nintendo Switch 2, or just type Switch 2 in chat and get your Switches while you can. We're doing our best to make sure that you guys are able to get them. We're fighting bots, we're bundling, we're doing our best to make sure that you can secure yours, because I know that there are some people that are really sad. Their orders were canceled this morning. They went in to get their Switches and were able to get them. So here on Antonline, we are doing our best to make sure that you can get them too. We're trying our best not to interrupt the show, but thank you, Etiquette, for letting us share the breaking news with everybody. It's Tiger Lily and Thor here with Antonline. Make sure to get over there and get your Switches while they're available.
Keep getting it, Etiquette.
All right, thank you. All right, so we love the big cars. We're gonna see one more of them. We're gonna head on over to the fire base. This is probably the base that when most people played casually, they probably ran into thinking they were well prepared and were blown away by the level scaling, because the town I just flew to is where the second gym is meant to be, roughly around level like 17, level 18. And then you get right next door is this star base where I think the game wants you to be like level 30. It's quite a steep level jump.
Yeah, I think each of the Pokemon that you fight in barrages has like a hidden level to it, and I think the ones in this fire base specifically is like somewhere between like either 20 and 25 or 25 and 30.
Yeah, and then I want to say
it's a very steep jump.
The Mela fight itself is like 29 or something.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of cars, hopefully people can get their hands on like a Mario Kart World bundle, but imagine if they put in Starmobiles in Mario Kart World. How absolutely ridiculous that would be.
Starmobiles in Mario Kart World. Oh man, that would be awesome.
It's the crossover we didn't know that we needed, but the one we deserve. I guess one other thing that we could go over is why we picked Corviknight specifically. Before I think a Japanese runner by the name of Wataame actually pioneered this Rookity into Corviknight route. Corviknight is a steel flying type. Flying is a really, really good offensive type against a lot of Pokemon. It hits a lot of things for neutral, is super effective against things like the fighting base. Steel is super effective against things like Fairy, for example, and resists things like poison, etc. So really good offensive and defensive typing. The route before this used a Luxio that you would catch kind of near the beginning of the game as you exit Mesagosa from the east, and you'd evolve that into a Luxray just for the sheer base stats. Turns out flying Pokemon are really, really good. We use acrobatics a lot. We like flying types, and yeah, it's really good. Etika had mentioned something about the Let's Go damage formula and things like that. Shoutouts to Anubis and her like team of like Pokemon researchers, and they do a lot of like digging into the raw like data and numbers into this game. So if you're familiar with type advantages, like flying is super effective. Yeah, shoutouts to Pokemon Swish or Sword Shield. Flying is super effective against like fighting types, grass types, etc. So that it'll get a 2 times bonus. And normally, that is all that it can do in like standard battling. If you're a flying type against a fighting type and you use wing attack, it'll do double damage due to the super effective stuff. In the Let's Go damage formula, it actually applies twice. So, which is really, really weird. What it does is basically the game checks your types against the opposing Pokemon's types and kind of like saves whatever is most effective. And it can save it twice because each Pokemon can have up to 2 types basically. So if you're a steel flying type that's going up against a pure fighting type, it will check flying against fighting twice. And it will basically do quadruple damage instead of double damage within the formula. Math, how does it work?
Yeah. And that is a relatively recent discovery. Like I don't think it was known like too long. Or I think that was a discovery after all the DLCs had finished dropping, I want to say. So it kind of like confirmed, like we had a lot of suspicions that it was like, all right, type advantage seems to be like really overpowered, and like, especially because, so in any percent, the way that we do it is Flamigo is our main Pokemon, and by the time we're doing bases, it's like level 80. So the type effectiveness basically doesn't matter at that point. But the secondary Pokemon we use is either, depending on what spawns, either a Scyther or a Hawlucha. And we noticed some things about like those Pokemon specifically and how they would perform better than we kind of expected them to, given their level difference. So like Scyther would blow through the fighting base, even though it was probably like a little bit lower level, like 5 or so levels below what it should be. And yeah, so we always had the suspicion that the type advantage really is what mattered. But getting like actual numbers behind it was pretty eye-opening. Another thing that's kind of interesting that we didn't really touch on. So Quaquaval is used mainly just because like it's got pretty good stats, and it's not like Meowscarada's issue is like it can be a bit frail, and it's also like its most powerful move is pretty slow. It's a move called Flower Trick, but it always critical hits, and critical hits just add like an extra however many seconds. And then like Skeledirge is just not really going to be used in the speedrun because it's too slow. Like its actual speed stat is too slow. And it's kind of nice actually that Quaquaval gets sort of its time in the sun, because so there are the 3 storylines. You've got Victory Road, Starfall Street, and Path of Legends. Victory Road uses or starts with Fuecoco because having the fire starter is beneficial for some things. It's just not the main Pokemon you use. Starfall obviously starts with Quaxly, the water starter, and then Path of Legends starts with Sprigatito, the grass starter. So all 3 are all 3 of the starters get their time in the sun when it comes to these single story runs, which I think is quite nice.
Yeah, that's really, really cool.
Real question for Etiquette. Out of the original starters, which one am I going with? I hate to say it because it's such the popular choice.
Oh my
but
gosh.
I am a Charmander person. I'm a fire starter person just through and through. So I am a Charmander guy. Really anything but Bulbasaur, but Bulbasaur does work for the glitched runs, so it's got to have some love.
When I started playing Pokemon Unite with Etiquette, he first Pokemon that he just like locks in, Charizard, immediately. Played that for like weeks.
I am not Charizard anymore, it's fine.
The real question is, ZA starter between Chikorita, Tepig, and Totodile. I am a known Chikorita lover. I am so glad that she's getting her time in the spotlight.
I know the correct answer is Totodile, but I will probably pick Tepig because I'm a fire starter person.
Heck yeah.
Chikorita is a great Pokemon, that's all I'll say.
So what if it's fairy grass?
Chikorita got done dirty because of the generation it was introduced in. The fact that it's so weak against the first 2 gyms, it just feels so bad. Oh, by the way, plot twist. Clive is not actually Clive. It's Director Clavel. Oh my god.
The person that's been following around this entire time is actually the director of the academy.
So this fight can go a few different ways. We have to set up 2x attacks here. Oranguru has 2 things really that he can do right now. Foul Play or Reflect. So we got Reflect, which is fine. Not a big deal. We're going to get put to sleep here because we got yawned on turn 1. We're going to go ahead and heal off that sleep because when you are asleep, you cannot attack. And if you try to let your Pokemon wake up naturally, it has to take at least 1 turn of sleep, but it could be as many as 3. And with Dream Eater, that would probably kill us. I used the wrong move because of Turbo.
It's fine. You can Aqua Step Poltergeist.
Yeah, what I'll do is I will...
Oh, you're also drowsy, so...
I'm going to
probably stall out. Yeah, stall out.
And then I'll full restore next turn. Luckily, that's not very effective because that Foul Play would have killed us if it wasn't. Foul Play is a really cool move. It actually uses the attack stat of the defending Pokemon. So because I've been boosting my attack, that Foul Play does a lot more damage. But yeah, we'll heal that off, and then I can just Aqua Step here actually because yeah, Reflect is gone. Aqua Step is a move you're not going to see us use a lot. Basically, so all those stat animations, animations cannot be turned off in this game. So those stat animations will play. So a move like Aqua Step is great because it increases our speed by 1 stage. It's a very powerful move, but it's just unfortunately like that animation just makes it take a little bit too long. Same reason why we're not going to see Close Combat a lot. Close Combat is a move, it's very high power, but it drops both your defense stats by 1 stage. But that's okay. We are officially through this fight. I just gotta basically mash A from now on.
Yeah, fun fact about this fight, we started with Quaxley as our starter here. Clavel changes his team based off of what your starter choice is. I think in this particular instance, he has Gyarados and I want to say Houndoom is the other one.
It's Houndoom.
That's specific. I think the other choice is Amoonguss,
yes.
Which you actually see in any percents because you pick Fuecoco. Amoonguss is a little bit of an interesting mon because it has the ability called Effect Spore, which is if you hit it with a contact move, it has a 30% chance to inflict a status condition on you, which is not the greatest thing in the world, especially if you get something like Sleep, for example.
Yeah. All right, Ash or Red? I'm a Red guy. I did watch season 1 of the anime, but I don't know, Red, being like a 10-year-old kid and rolling up to Red in Mount Silver in Pokemon Gold was an experience, to say the least.
Just the fact that like Red doesn't say anything is just such a power move.
It really is.
Not to mention that he has a level 81 Pikachu. Don't worry about it.
All right. So we have one more fight here. Plot twist. He's not Cassiopeia. Somebody else is. And so we're going to go ahead and fight Penny. Penny has a team full of evolutions. There are 6 Pokemon. I think the only evolutions she doesn't have are Espeon and Glaceon. And one of the big problems with this fight is every single one of these Pokemon has a move called Baby Doll Eyes. Baby Doll Eyes is a priority move, meaning it will generally go first. That will drop your attack by 1 stage. So we want to protect against that. I'm going to go ahead and do a slightly safer version of this fight. You can basically just try to not get Baby Doll Eyes. But I'm going to go ahead and throw up a Guard Spec. Guard Spec is the same as the move Mist, which if you were a kid like me and a move did not deal damage, you just ignored it. Mist is an effect basically that prevents any stat changes to happen from the other side. Or it might specifically be stat drops. But either way, it prevents our attack basically from being lowered. So thank you for the live edit, Dynam, of the notes.
You're welcome.
But yeah, so I'm going to throw up a Guard Spec. That's going to protect me for 4 or 5 turns, something like that, which is more than enough to get through this fight. The other thing Umbreon can do specifically while we're setting up is the move Psychic. Psychic has a 10% chance to drop our special defense, which would also be catastrophic. So doing the Guard Spec both protects against the Baby Doll Eyes as well as the special defense drop. So we're going to have the Guard Spec. And it's Psychic turn 1. I hate it here.
Of course.
Psychic turn 1 is what you want to see normally, but because I Guard Spec, I'm going to have to heal during the fight.
Yeah, which is fine.
Yeah. I'm gonna do that. I got 2 forward, so I'll do that.
Also, if you like evolutions, shoutouts to, if you're a GDQ follower, Greta Icefixen and Corvime will be doing a Pokemon Sword and Shield Trade Alt Main Evolution run over at SGDQ. So make sure to tune in for that when that time comes around in about a month.
Yeah, that's going to be a really exciting run. Trade Alt lines are...
We can figure this out. I think you can... Oh, you're going to eat Jolteon, actually.
Yeah, that's the problem. How about...
Step and hope for Thunder Miss.
No. Is it Thunder?
Yeah, it'll be Thunder.
It didn't miss.
All right, we're going back in.
All right, I should... Autosave should have saved at some point. It may be before Clavel, but you know what? This estimate is so high. We were trying to come up with things to do after the run.
That honestly, this is
so. This is actually probably better.
Yeah, we want to not only step to +4 attack to get through the fight, but we also want to make sure that we Aqua Step the Umbreon, because that speed is going to help us outspeed the Jolteon.
Yeah.
Which, as you can see, Jolteon is a very, very fast Pokemon, and if it lands a 70% Thunder on Quackable, which is a Water type, oops.
Yeah. I'll turn off Turbo until the run's over, or until after the fight, because there's a bit of cutscenes after.
Yeah, Turbo is like, we implement Turbo in the Switch PSR community just because we like promoting health and making sure that like you don't have to mash in order to stay like super competitive. So Turbo just kind of helps alleviate the stress that you will put on your hands from mashing through text boxes, because especially with any RPG, really, text is a huge part of the game, and we want to focus more on like the actual like mechanics and movement and such. So Turbo is really good most of the time when you're paying attention to it. Other times, if we accidentally miss input, it can go a little bit awry.
Yeah, for context, the Switch 2 boost that we're talking about in the chat, before that death, I would have basically tied the Switch 1 record on this run, where we stopped for like 3 minutes for the Switch 2 drop announcement.
And also did Cloth.
The run I did this morning beat the Switch 1 record by over like 3.5 minutes. So it is, even in a short category like this, it is a significant improvement. I guarantee you're going to be seeing, if you're in the Pokemon speedrunning community, you're going to be seeing a lot of people doing Switch runs.
Absolutely.
Even if the runs end up like to be worse quality than like the Switch 1 counterpart, it's also it's a nice mood booster to get a PB in anything. So
absolutely.
Sometimes it just feels good to see green splits. All right, now assuming I Aqua Step here.
Click the dance move.
All right. And then after this, I should be able to just acrobatics the entire fight. I will technically...
You'll still have to watch out for Baby Doll Eyes after Guard Spec drops, but normally this should be fine.
Yeah.
Most of the time in Pokemon games, especially in the later battles where trainers get stronger, the decision making that the AI does tends to try and go for kills rather than stat drops and whatnot. So like Jolteon will try to go for Thunder, Leafeon will go for whatever grass move it has, Leaf Blade, I don't know.
Probably Leaf Blade, yeah.
Yeah, so ideally we should just acrobatics through the fight and not see a single stat drop for the rest.
Yeah, and it's really nice like knowing that, because you can take advantage of it sometimes. And there are like, the other thing that can be really interesting, so a lot of these EVs have quick attack, and majority of the time, AI is done in such a way that if it has a priority move that it sees a KO with, it will use that. And so if let's say one of those psychics had crit me and I was down to like 20 HP, I would actually be able to like safely heal on a Pokemon like Flareon because I know it's going to go for quick attack rather than something like Fire Blast. Or whatever dangerous move might exist. So it's it's kind of nice in that regard as well. You can kind of use the AI, the knowledge we have about the AI against it to have these more optimized battles. But that is it for the battles. So one of the things that's kind of it's kind of nice from like a consistency standpoint, but is a little bit unfortunate in terms of some other things, is all of our single story categories have the same start time and the same end time. So they all start right when you get out of school, and you're sitting there in the middle of the plaza in Mesagoza. They all start at that point. You complete the storyline, and then at the end of the storyline, there's a big title card that shows up that says like Starfall Street completed, or Path of Legends completed, and you essentially wait for that to fade away, and then that is the end time. All three of the storylines have that. Unfortunately, the Starfall title card is a little bit further away than the other ones, so we do have a bit of cutscenes to get through, but it's not too bad. I guess now is a good time to ask the man in my ear, do we want to show off the in-game special treat? Okay. We're going to show off one more thing after this run, which is going to be exciting. Won't say what it is yet. But we have the time. This estimate was kind of set before we had the Switch 2 and knew that it was going to save so much time. So we've got the time. And people love Pokemon. That's what I've heard.
I have heard people like Pokemon.
This is known.
But yeah, I guess while this run is finishing up, I will suggest if anybody here is at all interested in Pokemon speedruns, whether it be for this game, a different game that you can play on your Switch 2, or any Pokemon game in general, I definitely recommend hopping on speedrun.com, going to those pages, and joining the Discord servers. We do have different Discord servers per console. Switch 2 is going to be a little bit interesting to know if we're going to split out the Switch and Switch 2 stuff. Right now, everything's going to be in the Switch Discord. I say unofficially because I'm not in any sort of power there. But yeah, things will mostly be sort of collected there. Any new improvements and stuff are going to be found and talked about there. I would say now is a great time to get into the Switch games. If you are somebody who is interested, they are all getting a little bit shorter. Every single game. This is the only Pokemon game that has a specific patch that is meant to improve the experience on the Switch 2. But we have noticed that every single one of the games tested at least has better loads in some places. So you're going to see people improve their Let's Go PBs. If anyone plays BDSP, they're going to improve those PBs. We were seeing like the first split in a Sword and Shield run is like 15 seconds faster than it was before, and that's like a 9-minute split. So it is amazing, really, this console and how powerful it is, and just how much better of an experience it is to play on these.
It's always like with a hardware drop like this, like seeing such like a resurgence in a community is always like really, really cool. It's basically like revitalizing and renewing the speedrunning experience. So being able to catch like this wave is pretty cool. Definitely, like even if you don't like, if you like Pokemon and you like speedrunning, like feel free to hang out anyway and just see how things unfold too.
Yeah. And it's also kind of interesting because like this game specifically had such a weird experience when it came to patches. So back in the fall of 23, I think it was, 2023, I guess I'll explain this actually after because the end time is just about going to happen. I had plenty of time to explain this. I'm going to explain it now. So there was a Switch operating system update. It was like 17.0 or something that improved this game dramatically. And it was like, oh my God. And so everyone for like the next couple weeks was like really running this game again. And then like a few weeks later, this is like, I'm talking like maybe a month and a half tops. The second DLC dropped, which came with a different update that brought the performance back down. So if you didn't do your run in that window of like a month and a half, it unfortunately, just wasn't your time. Speaking of time, that is the end of the run. That was an awful segue, but you know what? You did it. But yeah, that's Starfall Street. My timer says an hour 29 minutes, which with the break and fighting Cloth and the death to Penny is incredibly good.
On the Switch one, that would be a very respectable time.
Yes, absolutely. All right, well, with that, I am going to go ahead and take a bit of a detour. We're going to show off one thing. This is not something I personally have seen. I've heard it is much improved on the Switch 2, but we will have to see. So I'm going to take a little bit of time to get there. I don't know if we have any announcements or anything we want to go through.
Yeah. So just as a reminder, I'm sure the regular audience doesn't need a reminder. We're not usually here. We're Games Done Quick. We are partnered with Antonline today. We are celebrating the Switch 2 release. I do have a quick question to you two about the Switch 2 games, but before that, just a reminder to our audience or anybody who isn't aware, Antonline is the go-to destination for all things gaming and technology. So be sure to keep up to date with them on all their social media accounts. You can join the gaming community here every day on their Twitch channel. They'll show the best deals and the hottest game news. Or you can go to antonline.com/community to stay connected. But speaking of the Switch 2, what are you two most excited for speedrunning wise on the Switch 2?
So I'll go first. I guess I am very excited for all of the old Pokemon games, like I was sort of just talking about. I've been in kind of a rut when it comes to Pokemon speedrunning and not really knowing what to do, and this kind of gives me a reason to do all these games again. Very, very excited for Legends ZA coming out in the fall. The new Pokemon games are always amazing. And then I'm not sure. I always like seeing, like, it's not something I'm actually good at, but I do love seeing things like Mario Kart speedruns, because it's a game that you're like meant to go fast in. So everyone kind of, when they play casually, have their own sort of way to do things. But just to see the speedrunners and like what they do specifically, because it's like it's one of those weird games where like casually you're supposed to go fast, but speedrunners are going to go even faster. So I'm really excited to see what kind of stuff comes out of Mario Kart World.
Yeah, for me personally, other than the obvious like Pokemon ZA rehashing all of my runs and PBs from the older modern Pokemon games, I'm actually really excited for the Nintendo Switch Online GameCube like addition to the Switch 2, because they have announced that Pokemon Colosseum and Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness are confirmed for the online version of those things. And I myself love watching Colosseum speedruns. I do not own a GameCube myself, so unfortunately I have just mostly been a spectator. But having access to Colosseum, because it's so hard to find a physical copy these days that isn't like less than $200.
Yeah.
So just having that so accessible I'm really excited to see if there's going to be like a resurgence in Coliseum speedrunning, and just trying it out for myself too, because it's just a really cool game. All doubles battles. There's a lot of decision making and like flowcharts to follow. It's a very dynamic game in terms of battling. So I'm very excited to see when that releases.
Yeah, I also didn't have a GameCube as a kid, so I like having those games accessible is like a huge like, oh my god, I might actually get to play them.
All right. Oh, I need some.
Yeah, start the gym challenge.
Yeah.
Etiquette has made his way over to Alfrenada, which is the area of the psychic gym. If you have you did Victory Road for GDQ once upon a time, right?
Yep.
So if you watch that, you probably know what's coming up.
All right. So every gym in the game has a gym challenge, and the gym challenge here is something called the Emotional Spectrum Practice. That sound
I
right?
think that's right. It'll cut in.
Yeah. ESP for short. And this is essentially a little mini game where you're supposed to match the emotion that gets thrown at you. And this is a game that would struggle a little bit, to say it lightly. And you would notice it on this camera pan. So let's see how this looks. Oh, that's smooth.
The camera just glides. Oh boy.
This isn't gonna mean anything to anyone who like played the game once and never touched this mini game again. But like as someone who's seen this probably like 50 times, this is so much cleaner.
I love that etiquette because you were actually playing on it for the first time, so you can tell the difference between the Switch and the Switch 2.
Absolutely. I'm actually blown away. Like this is one of those areas that
It's so
like,
clean.
Because we like mentioned before, like sometimes in any percent you would reset your game at a certain point, so that way it runs cleaner for like the rest of the run. And there was even times where it was like debated, it's like should we reset right before ESP to like maybe ESP itself will run a bit faster. But this is just, I'm impressed. I will say that.
Now that you have it on the Switch 2, are there goals that you're like, okay, now I can actually do that? Or any challenges or speedruns that you're like, I'm gonna do it now? Because before it was just too, tedious, too annoying to even try.
Yeah, I have two specific goals in mind that I am very excited to try and tackle. The first is my PB from Scarlet Violet Any Percent was from like January after the game came out. So game comes out in November, my PB's in January, and I have been, I don't want to say active the whole time, but like I've actively tried to beat my PB and I like couldn't for the longest time. So I'm very excited to do that specifically because it looks like sub 5 is completely possible. It hasn't been done on English yet, but it's only a matter of time. So I'm excited to tackle the sub 5 barrier. And then the other one is, the game I love the most is Pokemon Let's Go. And I'm sitting at like a 301, and with load improvements, it's not going to be like a full game improvement like this is, but with load improvements, I'm really hoping I can get a sub 3 because I think that'll be really exciting.
That's so exciting for you. I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
I'm moved, as the trainer says.
We literally just got to watch you just be like, I got to see you get excited. It was a chill. You gave me chills watching you go through that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've been doing speedrunning for 12 years almost, and I've definitely there's a pretty common sort of path that a lot of speedrunners end up taking, where they go like from speedrunning into like the randomizer space and kind of stop the speedrunning side of things, because they're very like adjacent activities, but they're not exactly the same. And I was kind of trending in that direction, but I think this is going to pull me back into the speedrunning side of things, I think. I can't believe this is so much faster.
Yeah, just like knowing that things are so much more consistent on the Switch 2. Like, personally, I've only ever run the single story categories of this game. Any percent was a little bit too long for my taste, and like Etiquette said, like it can be a little bit frustrating sometimes to do a long run and then have certain things occur that may not be within your control. I really want to run any percent this game now, just because I know that it will be so buttery smooth and consistent.
All right. Well, I think if we don't have anything else, I think that is probably all I wanted to show off. So I will. I'll say it again. Thanks for having me. Thank you, Antonline, for this amazing collaboration with GDQ. I think this is really exciting. And as always, watch more Pokemon and continue watching this as well, because I believe there is Tears of the Kingdom right after me, which is another game that I'm sure you're going to see some wonderful improvements on. So yeah, definitely stay tuned.
Yeah, and a huge shout out to both of you, Dynam and Etiquette, here for being here, for showcasing. Legitimately, I cannot believe how like buttery smooth this runs. It looks so clean, it feels nice. I'm so happy that you and the rest of the community gets to, play this and just shave amazing amounts of times off your runs. Thank you both for being here. We're here. We're partnered with Antonline. Thor, Lily, do you want to talk a little bit about what we're doing here today, celebrating the Switch and everything?
We would love to. Thank you. Thor, I'll let you take over. You've been mighty quiet today.
I have just been, number one, I have never felt so old as I do right now watching a new speedrun in Pokemon and on the Switch too. Like, again, I clap it back, but what year is it? It's 2025, and I'm sitting here enjoying, the Switch 2, looking at a new Pokemon. It's wild. And of course, we got the new one coming out later on this year. Great run, by the way. And yeah, I can definitely take 3 minutes away from when we had to drop in the special news of Antonline dropping more Switch 2s on our socials. So great job on that. It's just fun. It's just awesome. And I love it. I love it. Not only is it a great distraction for me because I love speedruns so much, but it's cool to see you guys talk about the reinvigoration and getting back into it and being like, I almost went into the randomizer, but now we're going back into speedrunning. So that's been a great time. So Etiquette, thank you so much for showing me some of that, because that's been fun. It's been really fun to see for sure.
I love watching it because I have my Switch right here. I got the Animal Crossing one, so it was really fun because I remember starting Scarlet myself, and rewatching you play through it today, Etiquette, was really interesting because I'm like, wow, this is a blast from the past. I can't believe the game came out in 2022, and now I'm able to see it again. But I want to get my hands on a Switch 2 specifically because it just looks so, what are you guys calling it? Buttery smooth?
Also, like I said, I never felt so old. Like, I'm watching this like, man, I have to put myself back in Pokemon Yellow days, right? Because again, that's for me, Pokemon Yellow was like my jam, and Fire Red and Leaf Green. Those were like my two Pokemon experiences. But now I have to be like, these are what the kids are growing up with. Like, it's a school, and it's what are you doing? You're driving cars around. And so I really enjoyed chat talking about the different cars, and like, I have so many questions. How do they breed? How are they made? What is going on here? So that was a very, very fun time for me. But for sure.
I know you have a Switch.
I do.
What games do you have on there?
I have Return to Eden, which is a very Mega Man adjacent. So I'm a huge fan of the Battle Network series back in the day on the Game Boy Advance SP. So little shout out to the old school cool kids out there. So there was a Return from Eden was kind of a very much one of those. And so I actually heard the host talking about the GameCube coming to the Switch 2. And so I'm excited to jump into Twin Snakes. I hope they do a remake of that on the Switch 2. That would make me internally cry and just so happy. I'm a big Metal Gear Solid fan. And so I missed out on the GameCube's version of the remake of Metal Gear Solid 1. So I'm hoping that is coming down the line on Metal Gear. Is there any Metal Gear Solid fans in here? So I was so jealous when Nintendo partnered with Konami to do the Twin Snakes remake. So I'm very excited about that for sure.
I'm gonna call into Church right now. Church, you mentioned the GameCube earlier. What games on the GameCube? There are emulators on the Switch, right? Like we haven't even touched on the new emulations. I know Switch 1 has emulations, but do you happen to know what emulators we'll find on the Switch 2?
It's GameCube. I actually don't know the rest. I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you.
I did hear the call out for Kirby Air Ride though. I have so many good memories of Kirby Air Ride. That was like the game. You get your friends over, and I know Ethan's really excited about it. You know Ethan.
Yeah.
And so that flick,
Feisty.
yeah, the flick of the analog stick and just getting it just right to get that power boost when you're playing Kirby Air Ride. No other feeling like it for sure. Just absolute perfection. So I'm glad to see that coming back for sure. Heck yeah. As far as other titles coming out, we already talked about Donkey Kong coming out. I'm pretty excited for that
Which is
one.
in July.
And then I'm looking forward to Legend of Link. You know what I mean? Getting to play some Sheik maybe and a little bit of
Wait, Sheik is gonna be.
No, I'm just saying it would be a nice.
That's my favorite character.
Yeah. I wasn't a huge fan of the building and stuff like that, but I was always blown away when people just make these wild contraptions in the latest Legend of Zelda. So I wanted to see them flip it on their head again. Is it Sheik's time to come back? Are we here? Is it
I'm ready for Sheik for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of that, we're getting a Legend of Zelda speedrun today, aren't we?
Yes, and it's Tears of the Kingdom. I had made the mistake of saying it's Breath of the Wild, but we're going to be seeing Tears of the Kingdom, which for me is great because I didn't make it off Tutorial Island.
Nice. Well, you're gonna get the whole entire thing today, so I'm very excited to see that as well. Very, very excited to see that. And we're getting a movie too, so it's gonna be a nice little a starter for the Switch 2 bonanza.
If you guys are like, Lily, what are you doing? We only have one headset, so we're sharing. We're sharing at Church, so every time I talk to you, I have to put it on. But Church, can you tell us your favorite Nintendo game specifically? You've done a lot of what I'm excited for, but what is your history with Nintendo games?
I'm a big Pokemon player. I played every Pokemon up until Sun and Moon, I believe. That was my main. I'm trying to think. I don't know what else I played. I guess I played a little bit of Super Mario 64, but I'm mostly a Pokemon fan. Which might be why I'm so excited for Scarlet Violet, if I'm being honest.
That was a really cool show. They were so informative. They're like, you want to talk while they're playing? And I'm like, no, dude, like I'm learning things right now.
How about you, Lily? What was your first Nintendo experience?
So Super Mario Brothers 2.
Okay.
Right? And that was just because we had a genie. What is it?
The Game Genie?
The Game Genie?
Yeah, there we go.
My brother and I would love to hack it, but I only played it over and over so I could get the Tanuki power up. I don't even remember finishing that game. But that's, I was a kid. I didn't have any purpose. I just wanted to play it. So that's where I started. And then we got into more PlayStation. I'm sorry, but yeah.
Hey, yeah, there it goes. For me, my first Nintendo experience was a little game on the NES called River City Ransom. I'm that old, and if you've ever played River City Ransom, shout out to you. Our backs are not the best anymore. And then also the Penguin Race on Nintendo 64, the Super Mario 64, the Penguin Race, when you had to go down a bit, and at the very end, I still have nightmares to that day. So it's funny, we have somebody in the chat right now asking about the Switch 2 experience. You just missed an amazing speedrun by Eticat, and the first thing out of everybody's mouth was this looks so much better, and it runs so much smoother, and which has been a really cool thing to see in the speedrunning community, being wait, are the doors opening up? Is there different routes to take? How much time are we going to take off of these speedruns? So let us be the first ones to tell you this. It's been exponentially better when it comes to performance, and I know a lot of people have been looking forward to that, especially in the speedrunning community.
Yeah. We should ask chat too, right? Like, I'm only asking Church, I'm only asking Thor. Like, you guys, where did you start with Nintendo? Like, what brings your love to Nintendo? Why are you so excited? And if you did get a Nintendo Switch, definitely tell us in chat. We want to know how you enjoyed it. Etiquette is just playing on his. Antonline is dropping Nintendo Switch today. If you'd like to go to the website, !Switch2 in chat, or go to antonline.com/switch2. And then we just dropped it 45 minutes ago. I do not know if they've sold out. I do know a few of the bundles have, but if you missed out, we are dropping again today. I can't tell you specifically when, but there will be another drop for Switches. So if you haven't gotten yours, don't worry. We will have them on Antonline.
Heck yeah. And what a time to be alive. Antonline partnering up with Games Done Quick. It's been such a privilege and a pleasure being able to hang out with everybody today. Not only spreading the good vibes, for a good cause, but also just being here with the community, right? So, like I said, it's a dream come true for me. When I go to bed, I listen to either Warhammer or different lore videos, but also Games Done Quick. For me, it's the randomizers that I always enjoy with Games Done Quick. Kicking it old school with Dragon Warriors and just seeing the different speedrunners trying to get to that end goal there. And so, again, being a part of this has been a dream come true for me. So very much thank you for that, Games Done Quick, and of course, Antonline.
Prime in chat is saying that SNES, because they're finally getting an answer, coming around to answering my questions.
Sure.
They're like, let me get up and talk to Lily. So we got Mega Man X.
Mega Man X. Lily, you do not know anything about it. What about Mega Man X? Talk to me about
it. He's an AI.
There we go. There it is. Yes, little Mega Man X.
Mega Man Informer.
I do throw down a little bit of Mega Man for sure. He was just doing what he was programmed to do, saving lives for sure. By the way, do you call it? How do you say SNES? Is it SNES or is it SNES for you? Like how would you?
SNES.
There we go. There we go. Those crazy friends across the pond. What are you doing for sure?
Nintendo ever since Pokemon Crystal.
First
Nintendo console was the lime green Game Boy Color.
Okay.
Like the one that looks like it's glowing.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm jealous. I had the purple transparent Nintendo Game Boy Color, and I still have it. It doesn't work. But maybe I could get it to work with all these new retro stores opening up in Atlanta.
Yeah. But again, it's so cool to see the Switch 2 coming out with those different emulators, being like, hey, did you miss Kirby Air Ride? Did you miss Twin Snakes? Did you miss some of those GameCube games? Custom Robo? Nobody in chat knows about the Custom Robos. I don't even want to hear it out of you guys. But I was a huge Nintendo GameCube fan. Phantasy Star Online. I'll be some Phantasy Star Online, Lily. You, little mags, little Protoss, no?
Well, I'm actually surprised that nobody has touched on Smash.
Oh, yeah.
Fun fact though, I used to run a lot of Smash tournaments.
You used to run a lot of Smash tournaments?
I was okay, so I would never participate in the tournament, but I would run those, and it was so much fun.
Who was your main? Who was your main?
Kirby.
Kirby?
But I really like Samus.
Okay.
And then just to mess around, I would do Pichu as well. What about you?
Link. It was kind of a Link, you know what I mean? But Super Smash Brothers on the 64 was my jam. I'm a little older, so, I appreciated the GameCube, but for me, it was all about the 64. Good times.
If you think Dark Souls is hard, you never played Lion King on the SNES.
Omnitoast. See, I knew Omnitoast was a person of culture. Look at that, saying Phantasy Star Online episode 1 and 2.
Did you get it? I know you got the Switch, Toast. I know you got the Switch too. Tell me you got it.
Good times.
But yeah, I like Samus. Her paralyzer gun in Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, I really used. But I really wanted to be really good with the ice climbers, but I never got there.
Well, maybe you can try again with the GameCube emulation coming.
I knew you would buy it. So Toast was like, I'm going to wait for payday, which is tomorrow. It came out today.
Looks like we got our speedrunner hanging out with us in chat today. Cloud,
it's Cloud.
I'm so excited to check out this Legend of Zelda speedrun. This is going to be, again, Lily and I have a fun dynamic here is because I'm old school. I don't look at all the 90s preservatives and those crazy foods they used to give us, keep me looking young. But I like the Legend of Zelda Link to the Past. I like the story of oracles and all that kind of stuff. And she's much a newer Legend of Zelda fan, so I'm excited to see the speedrun and see where Cloud takes us.
I got Twilight Princess on the Wii U, but I didn't really dive into a game until Breath of the Wild. And I really wanted to get into Tears of the Kingdom, but Tears of the Kingdom came out when so many games were just popping up rapidly for us. So I only played it for a week.
Yeah, nice. I see Cloud's got some fans in there.
Yo, who's here to see Cloud? Drop an emo if you're with the Cloud Clan.
Cloud Clan?
Cloud group?
Cloud Clan, yeah.
What's a group of clouds called?
A cumulus nimbus is what it's called.
Really? Did you just make that up? Or are you that smart?
It just sounded right in my head. I'm going with it on twitch.tv/Antonline, the one-stop shop place to get all things tech. Again, if you're looking for a Switch 2, make sure you keep it peeled here for the social media accounts because they are keeping you up to date on when they're dropping the Switch 2. This has been a fun time, and I'm really glad that friends over like SNK have been able to set us up. Congratulations to you making this happen because good people, good games, it's all about what Antonline is all about. So yeah.
We love gaming, and you can catch the newest games, the hottest tech every single day of the week on twitch.tv/AntsOnline. Every day we have a streamer sharing the newest deals, the hottest deals, and even celebrating amazing things like the Nintendo 2 Switch dropping. Like, this is never going to happen again. You realize that.
Until we come out with the Switch 3. But, I'm not...
That's when we're going to call it the Super Switch.
I agree with you. It should have been called the Super Switch. I'm there. I'm there. I'm starting the petition now for the Switch 3. Super Switch 3. Super Switch 3. Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it for sure. For sure. Yeah, I mean, where do we go from here? We've got Kirby. We've got Legend of Zelda. We've got... I'm excited to see where the Switch 2 ends with their games, right? Because there's always a lot of hype when it comes to like their launch titles. But if the PS3 or the PS2 was something to show, was that the titles at the end of the console launch are always some of the best, right? So it's cool to like celebrate the launch of Switch 2 now, right? But where are we going to be in 5, 6, 7 years with the Switch 2? What is their open?
I mean, they have already blown me out of the water watching Pokémon Scarlet with etiquette. Gorgeous. I want to know, I want you guys, when you open that Nintendo Switch 2, I want you to plug, did anyone get a camera with theirs? Because I want to see what the camera's like. Because just like, the Switch 2 has already been really fun. I love the idea of just walking around and being able to connect to someone else's animal, like Animal Crossing Island. And like being able to play with them right away. That was so cool. Like I loved Animal Crossing, but now we have cameras that will be able to see each other.
There you have it, Chad. An open invitation. If you want to switch camera, Lily, just hit her up in Twitch chat. She's waiting. She's waiting for that friend code. I like it. I do
openly share my friend code with people.
I will say I do appreciate Nintendo kind of embracing that more online infrastructure, right? Because Nintendo has kind of always been like online. Don't know about that, right? But with the intro of a camera, with the the friend codes and all that kind of stuff, it's great to see them kind of catching up to that and really kind of pushing that with this launch. So very, very excited.
Well, you know what was actually a very great game to launch on the Switch?
What?
Was Monster Hunter Rise.
Ooh.
It started off really good.
Yeah.
And I'm really hoping they remake it for the Switch too, because that was the thing. It was a great multiplayer game. However, it was the things that we didn't appreciate about the Switch 1 that has now been updated, like the frames and the resolution. I can actually see monsters fly now. Okay. Without them stuttering across the screen.
Gotcha. And unfortunately, we have a viewer of ours named Cool Cat who said the light Switch Lite should have been called the Light Switch.
Cool Cat, what are you? But he did mention Mario World.
Yeah.
And I would love to see some gameplay of that, if not jump in myself.
What about Wario World?
Super Mario Kart World.
But what about Wario?
Mario Kart World. You guys are putting words in my head, and now it's all over the place.
Did you ever play the Wario games back in the day? Wario, yeah.
No, he was the evil Mario to me.
He was, yeah, but he was so cool. He had a bike, and he was on the Game Boy. It was sick. It was a good time. Let's bring back Wario. Mario's had his time. We're bringing back Wario and Waluigi. That's what the Switch 2 should be about these days. Let's do it. I'm sorry for making you feel old. I love it. Yeah. We'll see. We've got that. I'm hoping Sonic and Chow's come to the Switch 2. That'd be nice.
Dude, if they brought back Chow's, like Chow could be a standalone game.
Yeah.
And I think I would really get into that.
Yeah, I would say if you had to choose one game that is very near and dear to you, what would you make it onto the Switch 2? What would be
Harvest
Moon. I heard the moon. I heard the Harvest Moon. That was a good one. That was a good one. Harvest Moon was an absolute banger. So we'll have to see if that pops up. I'm sure it will. With the Switch 2, 8 years is a long time for the Switch 1, and now Switch 2 is getting their time to shine. So it's gonna be a good time. It's gonna be.
Says Cool Cat. So Omnitos is working on a cosplay right now. He's gonna be doing
Wario.
No, you would be a great Wario. You realize that?
That's not true.
Luigi. Oh my gosh, the Haunted Mansion game, Luigi's Haunted Mansion. Yeah, it's actually really great. I love it. It's like an introduction to Dark Souls for kids. It's a great game.
Yeah. RuneScape Switch. Chat, sound off, but you're getting into it. What game would you like to go for the Switch 2? I'm going to be selfish here. I want to say a new callback to Star Fox. I think a really cool Star Fox 64, but like Switch 2, but a new iteration of that would get me excited. I would. I love the voice lines of like Fox, you made it. Bill, is that you? It's like, oh yeah, I love it. Absolutely.
What about you, Church? What game do you wish you saw on the Switch 2?
Final Fantasy Tactics? That's a lame answer, but
no, you said that earlier for sure. But it was such a great game.
Yeah. Just real quick, just to let you know, we are ready with the run whenever you all
Let's go. Okay, so guys, thank you again. We have partnered today with Games Done Quick here on Antonline, and we're so excited to start the next speed run. So we're going to toss this over to Church. Thor, thank you so much for being here.
No worries.
We'll be here at the end of the day.
Good luck, Cloud.
Yeah. I'm sure you're all aware, we're Games Done Quick. We are a charity speedrun marathon. We raise money for a bunch of different charities. We're showcasing some speedruns for y'all. Cloud, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Thank you guys so much for having me on. So yeah, I'm Cloud. I speedrun primarily Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, and I'm here with Games Done Quick to show off this run. We actually just got a brand new route for this category that I'll be running today, so it's got some pretty fun and goofy stuff to show off, so I hope you guys enjoy. And we can go ahead and count down and get started whenever, if you guys are ready.
Yeah, whenever you're ready. I didn't know there was a new route, so I'm excited for this.
Oh yeah, it's pretty good. All right, we'll go ahead and start then in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so the category we're going to be running today is called Any Percent. If you're not familiar with speedrun terminology, Any Percent just means beat the game from new game to end credits as fast as possible. And this is going to be unrestricted, meaning that there's going to be a lot of glitches. We're going to be doing a lot of things that you probably wouldn't anticipate seeing in a normal playthrough of Tears of the Kingdom. Now, the game is kind of designed like Breath of the Wild, so you can go straight to the final boss, like as soon as you get done with the tutorial. And we're going to be doing that and a lot more. So our first glitch is actually right here in the intro. We're going to attempt what's called a climb jump clip, which is a very precise setup to basically slip through the collision here. This might take a few tries, but it's worth going for until we get it, because this does save like over a minute of having to sit through cutscenes. So there we go, second try, something like that. And we're going to have to perform a series of jumps to get over these cutscene triggers.
And yeah, just in case there is anybody
here.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say the movement here is a bit wacky, but we're just basically avoiding these cutscene triggers to stop Zelda from talking. I hate to say it, but Switch 2's got that new memories feature, so if you want to hear Zelda talk, you can go listen to that on your brand new Nintendo Switch 2 console.
But yeah, like if there's anybody in chat who isn't super familiar with speedruns, feel free to ask questions. We'll answer anything about speedrunning in general, the game or speedrun itself. Either of you in call with us have any questions, feel free to chime in at any time. All
right, so our reward for getting through that difficult section is we get to sit through a 4-minute long unskippable lore cutscene. They always say if you want to pick up, if you're going to pick up speedrunning and you want to have a lot of interaction with chat, run a Zelda game, because there's a lot of cutscenes and a lot of downtime for you to kind of just hang out and chat. So actually nowadays, the community has voted to allow a mod to skip the cutscene for runs, just because the start of the run is super punishing, and it feels kind of strange to just go back and sit through the entire thing over and over again whenever you fail one tiny trick. But before that we used to make our best of it. I've got a guitar over here next to me. We used to like play a little guitar during the cutscene and whatnot. So yeah, we have a good time.
Yeah, I could definitely see myself being less interested in a speedrun if it was like, oh, I gotta reset and watch a 5-minute cutscene. Especially on such a short run, right?
So I've been running this game since basically right after launch, like May 2023, and I've had a world record in 6 different categories, I think, but most of them are longer. So I've never had world record in this category, which world record right now is just over 39 minutes. It's definitely a lot shorter than some of the other ones, which are like an hour plus, 2 hours plus. When you're running some of those longer categories, it doesn't matter quite as much because you're willing to take a little bit of time loss. But if you're running something like 90% and you gotta be super optimized and like every single portion of the run, it can get pretty reset heavy.
Especially in such a short game, relatively. Like, if your any percent was like 6 hours, then you'd be like, whatever, that's fine. But yeah, when it's 39 minutes, you're like, no, I need that 4 frames that I lost.
Yeah, and it's not only that, but unlike Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom early game is not only hard, but also very punishing. Like, messing up a trick in the beginning of Breath of the Wild loses you like maybe 10 seconds, maybe 15 seconds. But the tricks here can lose you up to 40 seconds, up to anywhere from up to 3 minutes. It's basically a forced reset at any point along the way. And we'll explain why that is later, because this run's got some pretty cool stuff at the very beginning.
And I guess I should say, just in case there's anybody out there who is interested in speedrunning, when we talk about stuff like forced resets and stuff, we're talking about on PB attempts, especially when you have lots and lots of practice. If you're just getting into speedrun, it's not a forced reset. Just finish the run. It's fine. You don't have to reset. It's mostly when people are going for that competitive edge to get the top times.
Yeah, especially at the world record level, competition can be pretty tough. Trying to optimize every part of the run. It's great though. We've got a very cool community surrounding the Zelda games that comes together to kind of uplift and support each other. There's definitely competition there, but things are pretty friendly. And we all work together to kind of squeeze out as much time saved as we can through either finding new tricks that were previously undiscovered or taking old tricks and making them better.
So I know we talked a little bit about just missing a trick is kind of a run ender. Are there any big run enders in any percent?
There's a lot, and that clip I did at the very beginning, 30 seconds in, is one of the most egregious.
Yeah.
Getting a second try is probably, if I was going through PP attempts, I probably would reset if I didn't get a second try. In this category, and we've got another one coming up here called Cog Skip. This is a very precise movement jump. It's not even a glitch. So we see this one even in glitchless categories. But what we're gonna do is, after we grab our Master Sword here, we're gonna slash these vines. Now normally you're supposed to activate that portal and leave through the door, but if we get a nice lineup on here, there's a specific patch of slope that we can just jump up onto the wall back here and kind of escape this room early. And as you can see, we're not meant to be up here, so the climbing collision's a bit weird. But now we are into the tunnel. So not only does that save a bunch of cutscenes and running, but it also gives us access to a treasure chest, which is up top outside here at the very peak of the island. And this chest has a very useful item that we are going to use and abuse to get through the tutorial area of the game as quickly as possible.
I am a big fan of any percent with very heavy glitches, but my favorite kind of tricks are those where it's just this isn't actually a glitch. This is just, we are really abusing the terrain here.
Yeah, it's just this is just a thing you can do. And what we're doing right here is, you'll see now I went from 3 wings to 26. That's a duplication glitch that is pretty infamous to earlier versions of this game. And I did not mention that we are running on version 1.0, which is launch day version. So this is down patch. You can get this by buying a cartridge and then factory resetting your Switch and then turning off auto updates to keep version 1.0. Because this is the version that's got the most jank, so to speak. It's got the most useful and fast glitches for the run. But that being said, since there are many versions of Tears of the Kingdom, this game was kind of infamous for Nintendo patching out all of our little toys that we were playing with. But you can run on any version of the game. There is a route and a leaderboard for you. Even if you're on current patch or even if you're on Nintendo Switch 2, those leaderboards will be opening soon. Now, here's another very reset heavy trick that if I miss, we're going to keep going. But we'll try to hit this. And again, this is not a glitch. This is just a thing you can do. All right, so that's wing flip. Now, the reason we have to do that is because we're so high up, we are going to take fall damage if we try to land on a wing. And the reason we need to land on a wing is because we're trying to avoid an autosave trigger. So for the next couple minutes, we're going to be playing a game of the floor is lava. And the reason why we're doing this is because we have to go all the way down to the Temple of Time. You can kind of see on the left corner of the screen. There. We have to go and touch the door, which will activate the shrines so we can open them and get inside. However, it's really slow to get from the Temple of Time to the 3 shrines. So what we're going to try to do is, by staying on these wings, we prevent the game from updating Link's respawn position. So after we activate the quest marker, if we can successfully make it all the way down there without touching the ground, we can jump over the edge and void out down into the sky. And then it'll put us all the way back up by that wing chest where I jumped off before the cutscene. So that is what we're going for here. And this is probably the most punishing trick. If you miss it, it's not super difficult. You just got to be very careful to not touch the ground. It can lose like 3 or 4 minutes. But I've got a backup save in case that happens.
Yeah, 3 or 4 minutes in this category is like that is the end of the world.
Mm-hmm. So we're gonna fly our wing down here, and on the way we're gonna be getting a little preview of GTA 6. If it was in Zelda, there's a little robot guy down there. We're gonna have to ram into him with this wing to grab his sword and his shield, because those are gonna be useful for some glitches that we're gonna set up shortly. Now that is a glitch called sword shift dupe, and basically what happened is we turned the master sword into a rusty sword. Bit of a weird position here. There we go. That's fine. Okay. That should be good. Yeah, no, you just gotta be very careful, even if you have to eat a couple extra seconds of time loss positioning. Okay, we can save this with a frame perfect jump. I didn't get it, but I'll just load my backup save then. So yeah, there's a frame perfect jump, and it's technically only a 50-50 chance because you just have to mash and hope you get the right frame. So I got a little bit trolled by the wing placement at the end there, but in a run setting, that would definitely be a reset. But since we're up here, we're just gonna and so you can see we're all the way back up here now, and that's the first shrine we're gonna be heading to. So normally you'd have to go like all the way from there, climb across the snow, climb up this cliff with like waterfall and stuff. It takes a very long time, and that's what we used to do in the early days before this trick was implemented. Now we're just gonna ride this wing gently down to the shrine. You'll notice we're only at 1 heart because we took damage from hitting the wing earlier, and we took damage from voiding out over the edge. And now we're in the cold, so in about 15 seconds we're gonna die of cold damage. But fortunately, we got to the shrine quick enough, so that's not gonna be a problem. So, inside the first shrine, this is Ascend. And this is where we're going to be setting up the bulk of our glitches for the run. Now, the main glitch that we're going to be working with here is called Overload. So there's a mechanic in this game where, Link can equip weapons, right? But using a glitch called Zuggle, we can stack additional weapons onto Link's model, like his body. More than the game is supposed to let you. And if we reach a certain amount of weapons, it'll put Link into an overload state where the game basically can't handle any more attachments onto his actor or like his body basically. So we're weighing Link down with so much stuff that the game doesn't know what to do with it, and it'll allow us to make use of some funny effects. We're going to be using Overload to set up another glitch called Arrow Smuggle that will allow us to fly. Now, I'm not going to get into the weeds on all this because it's like, I feel like you kind of have to get like a PhD in Zelda glitch science to really get all this stuff, but we're going to be setting that up here. And the menuing is pretty intense, so I'm going to stay quiet and count, make sure I get the correct number. Alright, so we reached our limit there, 10. Now we're gonna take out this guy as well. Okay, try that again. This is on a cycle here, so if we lose a little bit of time, it's not that bad, assuming we can get up here. Just barely made it. Okay, we're good to go.
Nice.
So, the way that little jump trick works, that's what we call Arrow Smuggle, is so we've overloaded the game so much that it won't display the bow in Link's hands, even though he's got it equipped. And when you're in that state, if you try to do a jump slash, it'll cancel the animation on the first frame, meaning you can pull out the bow and do another jump slash and kind of repeat that as many times as you want. Now, you know when you do a jump slash, Link gets a little bit of height, right? So you can chain that and just gain height repeatedly. And that was the slowest version of Arrow Flight that we're going to see. The rest of them are much faster because we'll be facing backwards. If you're familiar with speedruns, for some reason, a lot of games you can just move faster when you're going backwards. If you're familiar with like backwards long jumps in Super Mario 64, stuff like that. So we're done with our first shrine. Now we got 3 left to go before we get off the Great Sky Island area, from which we will be heading straight to the final boss with not much to our name. Now the other benefit of that overload trick that we did is these swords. Basically, Link is holding 10 swords at once right now, and they each have a hitbox, meaning we can do crazy damage. And that'll come into play later. But yeah, we've got to be extra careful for the rest of the run because if we die at any point, we're going to lose that Arrow Smuggle stage.
Oh, no.
And it becomes a bit of a pain to set up. Oh, and yeah, you can also cancel fall damage. I forgot to mention. Alright, so here's another little trick that we're going to get to show off here. We're going to throw this capsule down here. Perfect. So what that did is it landed on a machine below, which triggers this dialogue to give us the battery. Now we could just get it the normal way after we complete our next shrine, but by doing it here, it'll save time because the cutscene, if we were to get it later, is much longer. Duplicate a bomb here. You gotta be really careful with these because they can and will explode in your face.
And I assume your health is kind of accounted for at all points in time.
Yeah, you gotta be really careful not to die. Those fall damage cancels are super tricky too because, well, they're easy to execute, but the game lags quite a bit. And if you get stuck in a lag frame and miss your input, it can be fatal. But that, just like that, we're already at our next shrine. And we're going to be using Overload. Another perk of Overload is we can basically freely duplicate weapons, bows, and shields to our heart's desire. So we're going to be, we only have one shield, but we're going to turn this one shield into 4. And we're going to be using that for some movement. Now, the fuse ability is also going to let us put those bombs onto our shield. And if you've played, you may know that you can do a shield jump and it'll kind of send you up into the air. Again, not a glitch, just a thing you can do. But we can use that in conjunction with our arrow smuggle glitch to give us a lot of kind of like starting speed for our flight. What's funny is, so we were just talking about the energy cell earlier. Actually, I'm going to duplicate a couple more. So, a new update just released for Tears of the Kingdom version 1.4 in preparation for the Switch 2 launch, right? We're just gonna shoot this chest down here. And a couple more bombs. But it turns out that there's actually, in that new update, Nintendo introduced a bug into the game that wasn't there in previous versions. And I just discovered this yesterday when I was messing around with the new version. One of those constructs, he'll just like refuse to give you the battery. Okay, how do I do this again? Oh wait. I think I'm doing this wrong. Okay, that doesn't seem to be working out. We'll come up with a backup. So yeah, that duplication trick I was trying is quite new, and I messed it up a little bit, but we'll find a suitable backup. We'll just have to be very careful with our shield durability. Alright, so now to get to the third shrine, this is another part I'm going to have to focus. This is one of the most difficult flight sections of the run. We're going to do a lineup where we're going to have to go super fast over this lake you can see on the map. And we're going to have to gain a lot of height to get up to Ultra Hand because it's on like this tower thingy. So I'm going to focus here for a sec. We're going to bucket these jumps. This is what in speedrunning we call a normalized setup. It's like a set series of inputs you can do to get the same position every time. And that'll give us the perfect slope to launch on. Almost there. Perfect.
Nice.
Yeah, that one's tricky too because this game, especially version 1.0, is very laggy. And like we mentioned, trying to input those jumps on a lag frame can kill your flight and send you careening towards the ground, which is not ideal. But yeah, so this bug I was talking about is one of those constructs that gives you the battery. He gives you the dialogue as if he's going to give you the battery and then he just doesn't give it to you. It's like they literally just forgot a line of code or something. It's really strange. I haven't seen anything like it in this game where it's something that like a casual player could totally run into. And I tried to reach out to Nintendo support and be like, hey, I love glitches, but this one's actually kind of...
This one's not great.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if there's gonna be like a new update where they fix that.
Is it 100% guaranteed, or is it just like randomly happening?
It's 100% guaranteed to not give you the battery.
That's not
Like
great.
it's not a complete soft lock because there's 2 other places you can get it from.
Okay.
But still, like if you're a new player, you're just gonna be running around Gray Sky Island having no clue what's going on.
Yeah.
And you're not gonna be able to progress. It's interesting to say the least.
Thankfully, we live in. I see Thor is mentioning Nintendo Hotline. Thankfully, we live in the age of the internet where like you could Google that and like figure it out, but it's still annoying.
Oh yeah, it kind of reminds me, definitely not on the same scale, but I don't know if any of you guys remember the big old Skyward Sword bug from back in the day, where it was like if you did one of the steps of a quest out of order, it would just completely soft lock your game from ever being completable.
I didn't know that was a thing. That kind of stuff gives me nightmares.
Yeah, that was actually one of the first times Nintendo ever released like an update for a game. They had to come up with like this whole separate Wii channel just to like patch hotfix into the game.
That's wild.
It's pretty great.
Especially if you don't know what's coming up. Like a lot of the movement tech in this is wild and just a treat to see for the first time.
It is. I've never watched a Tears of the Kingdom speedrun, and so it's like I'm like, what am I gonna see today? And it has actually been blowing me away. Like my face has been stuck to the screen this whole time watching you, and I'm like, what can I talk about? I don't know what to talk about, and I finally have something to say, and it's just how silly it looks.
Well, I hope you guys are all enjoying the run. And actually, after we get off, Gray Sky Island is the best part, where we get to the route kind of deviates. Because if you haven't played this game, there is a specific location where you go to trigger like the end game fights and like the boss rush and stuff. I'm gonna go play a little bit safe here and jump off the sand, so I can see the picture ability. But so. I don't know. Okay, you're watching a speedrun. You're succumbing yourself to spoilers. So don't be mad at me. But, so yeah, underneath the castle is where we need to go.
Oh, don't worry. I'm here for
normally
it.
you have to go through like... Normally you have to go through like this long winding tunnel filled with a bunch of like high-level endgame enemies. But we can just clip out of bounds and then clip back in bounds once we get there. Now the way you actually get there has kind of changed. So we used to clip out of bounds in a well in like kind of by the castle, and then we found out it was faster to clip out of bounds at the actual castle itself. But now we clip out of bounds using a very different method, which I won't spoil it, but we'll see once we get there in a few minutes. So we're back here to head up to our last shrine, and thankfully we don't have to do that clock skip again. We can just... I look at that. And this little technique I'm doing here is called crouch throw sprinting. You guys might be familiar with whistle sprinting from Breath of the Wild. How you can like move at faster speeds while preserving your stamina. This is kind of like that, but not as good. And it's very... mechanically intense to perform. But here we're gonna do a jump off the staircase there to kind of skip these waterfall puzzles. And if we're fast enough, we can hit the cycle at the end. 1, 2, 3, and jump and recall. Perfect. Now this if you guys are familiar with speedruns, you might know that a lot of speedruns are subject to RNG, or random elements that the game determines differently from playthrough to playthrough. And one good thing about Tears of the Kingdom runs is they're pretty RNG free, except for this one part. We're gonna have to scan for a gem. You might know that gems in these games are like little mini elemental nukes that we can use to take down some of the enemies later on. So we're gonna have to run the slot machine here for a second. We want either a ruby or a topaz, and that's about a 26% chance to get one of the two. This isn't required. You can get a guaranteed drop. It's just about 30-40 seconds slower. There's a topaz, perfect. So slightly worse than average RNG, but nothing too bad. My personal worst is like 24. So if you have a 26% chance and it takes you 24 tries to get the hit, you guys can do the math on how bad my luck is.
That's not great.
It's really not.
I don't know about you. That's the kind of RNG that if I got, I would take it as a sign that I'm playing something else for the rest of the day.
Yeah, it's like, I'm gonna log off. We're gonna play like Fortnite or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Gonna go play Apex and watch anime. See y'all.
Yeah.
Look
Or I
at her
guess-
fly, chat. Look at her fly.
Okay, evasive maneuvers here. We're good. I'm a little bit worried about the durability on my sword, but we should be okay. I might grab a backup weapon just in case. Okay, so now we've got our heart container, and we're gonna be finishing Gray Sky Island and heading straight to the end game. And we're going to enlist the help of a very friendly deer to clip out of bounds and get underneath the world. So I guess I can go ahead and explain what exactly that is on our way there. So another perk of Overload is if you try to interact with a mountable object, so think like horses, deer, any animal you can ride, like the steering sticks in this game, the telescope at Lookout Landing is a mountable device, things like that. It'll ignore collision, you'll just clip right through it. So since we are overloaded, we can clip out of bounds by mounting a deer. And we're just gonna plummet from the sky and clip out of bounds. There's really nothing else to say about that. You'll just have to watch here. Now I'm gonna focus up for this part because the movement can be a bit tricky. Now luckily our deer friend here is always in a consistent spot, so we know exactly where to go to find him. And we're not even gonna leave a dive, we're just gonna dive straight onto his back. A bit of bounds. Where's he? Target acquired. He's not gonna like this, he's gonna scream a bit. But just like that, we are now out of bounds. Now we're going down to the depths, we're gonna get this quite hefty load. I imagine on Switch 2, this is not gonna be nearly as bad.
I think it's pretty impressive that you can nail that out of the sky like that.
We just watched you break the game.
And now we can duplicate these topaz midair.
You definitely got off Starter
pretty
Island
snazzy
faster
trick.
than it took me to get off it, which was 4 hours.
4 hours.
I was up there exploring.
You could complete the entire main story of this game. Speedrunning. Okay, now let's hope we're on course, because my angle was a bit off initially. It's still a bit off. We can redirect here. So we're heading right down there. Yeah, I fell off the wing and had to readjust. Also, I need a couple more leads. So you can see below us down there is the army platform that we'll be clipping into.
Thor, as a game dev, how does it make you feel to see this?
Oh, I went a bit too far. A bit dark down here. Let's see if we can get this clip. The shield durability was really tight. I messed up the duplication glitch, so I only have 1. I'm supposed to have 4, but we made it work. Now, normally you can just land straight there. I'm gonna land on this platform here to give me a nice little autosave. Because otherwise, if I die at any point here, I have to go all the way back up to Great Sky Island.
Oh, no.
There's a lot of time loss. Yeah, so now we can just start pelting these guys with our nukes. And we're using recall to cancel the throw animation to get out these hits faster. Which not only saves time, but it's very helpful like crowd control. So you may know that there's army we have to fight, and then there's a 6-part boss rush that we'll be skipping by clipping out of bounds. And then there's the Ganondorf fight, which is quite difficult. But we're gonna be kind of scavenging some weapons from these army fights here in order to take him down. And I'm gonna grab a couple extra just in case my durability runs out. These guys are super scary in their movement patterns. I definitely play it safe here. I also kind of need to back up to get my next round. I had one escape here. So I'm timing these pickups with when the last body explodes, because that'll give us an instant load into the next phase. Otherwise, we have to run around for anywhere from like 3 to 10 seconds waiting for the load. It can be kind of cumbersome.
Which it might be a little shorter on the Switch too. Which I think we kind of mentioned it. You are playing on the Switch 1 because it's been a little difficult to get some Switch 2s. But I believe I know a pretty decent place where you can get some Switch 2s, which is going to be Antonline, the go-to destination for all things gaming and technology. You can keep up to date with them on all of their social media accounts. Also, you can join the gaming community every day here on Twitch. I mean, this is their Twitch channel, where they share the best deals and hottest gaming news. You can also go to antonline.com/community to stay connected.
We'll need Cloud to come back so we can see what this is like how fast you can do this on the Switch 2, and if there's any differences. Because with earlier we were able to actually feel it, and see the difference.
I'll grab just a couple backup things here in case we run into trouble. But so now you see we have to fight Colbera, but we don't actually have to fight any of the 6 bosses. So in this game, if you don't complete the dungeons, you have to fight them at the end of the game here, but we're just going to skip them by clipping out of bounds.
Switch to the deer slightly to the left.
Oh no.
That's going to throw me off. I'm going to go splat on the ground first time I try. Alright, so that's our first clip. Get a second one just in case. So Here we have to equip out of bounds and then equip back in bounds. I'm looking for a specific spot on the floor. That lineup is pretty tough. You have to kind of use the slope of the ceiling to redirect you. So now we're into the Ganondorf fight, and we're going to see the power of, like I mentioned, Link is holding 10 swords in his hand at once, all with this strong fuse part. So we can just take down Ganon in 6 hits. It's pretty fun.
That was a lot of damage. I assume that's normally a much, much longer fight.
Yeah. Okay, and it looks like our sword is going to break a bit early here, so we're going to have to improvise and get a little flashy for the 3rd phase. But we'll make it work. That's another thing that's kind of more punishing about this new route is the sword durability is really tight. You can only afford to lose like 1 durability, and I think I used 2. So my sword's going to break a hit early, but we should be okay. Bait him into a dodge and read his attack. And then counter. Yeah, it broke a bit early, but we can just keep this here. Alright. Bad man down. So, you saw that fight was pretty simple. But the next section coming up here, which is the Demon Dragon battle. I remember in my casual playthrough, it really felt kind of more like an interactive cutscene, just kind of a cinematic of diving around with the light dragon and taking down this beast. But in the any percent speedrun, you may have noticed that we never got the paraglider. We just went straight from the sky all the way down to the depths. So because of that, we're going to have to perform some pretty tricky and technical movement and work on a very tight cycle of how the 2 dragons move in relation with each other to take out the 4 weak points as quickly as possible and then get to the last one. In longer categories, you have access to rockets and you can just rocket around. It's not as difficult, but this is arguably the hardest part of the run after everything we've been through. And it's right at the very end. So you can see why this category is so tough.
It's so exciting to watch. I think you've executed it so well and perfectly. Was there ever a moment during this that you're like, man, I messed it up? But I feel like you've done it right all the way up to now.
It's been all right. I did have to load my backup save because I lost the 50-50 on the frame perfect jump and had to, I accidentally touched the ground. But here we go. I'll try to explain as best as I can as we go, but I think it's better to just show rather than tell kind of what we're doing here. But super cinematic. I love the visuals here. I love the music. Very, very fun end to the run. As challenging as it is. That should be a good cycle. Looks pretty good. If anything, that was a little too fast. We're gonna have to kind of stall for a second on this next part. Another tricky Pokemon up here. Alright, now we're on our way to the last eye. This is kind of the moment of truth if we're gonna get the fast ending or if we're gonna lose 40 seconds.
Oh,
So
no.
hopefully we were quick enough. Maybe. Might have been good. We just barely missed it. We were like a second off. Okay, that's fine. Nothing wrong with getting to enjoy a little bit more of the cinematic here. But this is, we are getting to the end of the speedrun. So I hope you guys enjoyed our little showcase here.
This is wild. You're early. I mean, like you got 6 minutes to beat him.
It is always fantastic to see just how much you can break this game open.
Yeah, chat and drop your emotes. Let Cloud know we're here. We're cheering.
So for the final strike, there's one more piece of tech that we're gonna have to encounter. If you are on his head at the end, the game takes 8 extra seconds to reposition you. So we're gonna try to go for a little flashy. There we go. A mid-air jump slash. And that should be
Nice.
good. Yeah, we got it. All right. A nice little 8-second time save there. But yeah, this run's pretty crazy, and there's actually 3 or 4 runners right now in contention for world record, kind of grinding for the very first sub 39-minute run. We've got about 45 seconds left. Our last order of business is to dive down and catch the princess, and time is going to end when we hold hands with Zelda. Such a romantic
We
ending.
have to. We just
I love
have
it.
to.
But yeah, the Switch 2 just came out, and a lot of these glitches don't work on newer versions of the game, or they take a lot longer to perform. So the Switch 2 any percent run is going to look quite a bit different. But I definitely recommend checking out some of those runs in any category of this game.
What do you think, chat? Would you be able to recreate going from Starter Island all the way to this? I just watching you go through the out of bounds was like it was black. How did you know where to go?
You kind of have to initially position yourself before it gets black, but I fell off the wing and had to readjust, so I was a bit off angle and we had to course correct, which is unfortunate, but we got through it pretty cleanly. But yeah, and that is Tears of the Kingdom
Oh,
80%
she did
speedrun.
it!
GG.
Cloud did it!
GG.
And was it 46 minutes? That's not bad.
You did it early too.
what's
Your
up?
goal is 50 minutes, but you did it way earlier. 46.
We have
What's
4
your
extra
best
minutes to,
time?
yeah. My personal best is 43 for this category. This also isn't really my main category though. I did mention like for this game I tend to prefer the longer categories. But yeah. A 43 puts me around like 15th place or something. So there's definitely some very talented runners out there that if you want to see any percent at the top level, definitely go check out some of those guys.
I feel so great today. I watched the entire game in one sitting. I'm caught up. I'm good to go.
That was nuts. That was really cool.
But yeah. Again, I'm Cloud, twitch.tv/CLOUDT. I've been actually running Breath of the Wild for the past few months. I took a little break to come back for today's showcase, but I'm working on Breath of the Wild All Dungeons, which is the speedrun where you beat all the divine beasts and then beat the game as fast as possible. I'm going to be showing off that run at Zeldathon next week, so be sure to tune in for that. And then afterwards, I will be coming back to Tears of the Kingdom to grind for world record in some of the longer categories. So if that sounds interesting to you guys, stop on by. We'd love to see you. And thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, thank you so much for being on. Definitely give Cloud a follow and go watch the fantastic Zelda speedruns that Cloud puts on. Thank you so much for being here for showcasing Tears of the Kingdom. I almost said Breath of the Wild. Tears of the Kingdom. Unfortunately on the Switch 1, but there is a Switch 2 port, so people can enjoy it on the Switch 2. And yeah, we've been celebrating the Switch 2 release here with Antonline. Antonline, what do y'all have to say here?
First off, the shows were really great. We had so much fun watching. I know we had such a small time window to get through these speedruns, but like, it was amazing. It was fun to watch. I loved both of the game categories. Pokemon gave me a blast from the past. I've never played through Tears of the Kingdom all the way through, so that was like, I know the ending now. I had no idea Ganon was a dragon. Did you?
I am both, like I mentioned it in chat, as a game developer and a game designer. My first thing I have to say is, Cloud, never play any games that I've ever worked on, and never play any multiplayer games that I work on, because you will break it in 1,000 times away. And so I was inside, I was mauling and dying, but as a viewer, I loved every second of it, because it's just like, no, yep, that's gonna work. And so it was awesome. It was awesome to see. And like I said, I have such a love for Legend of Zelda. Just so seeing it in 46 minutes rather, that was so awesome. It was really good time. Really, really good time. I enjoyed it. And just even the backwards jumping and just all the mechanical input to do that. I'm just like, yeah, I'm too old to learn how to do that for sure. I'm washed up. That's awesome. That is awesome to see, for sure.
It was really interesting to see how I mean, the thing about Tears of the Kingdom is it already felt like a sandbox where you have unlimited tools to make whatever you want, and I feel like that was the dev's goal. It really went with engineers. Like, people that are aspiring engineers love that game. But people who want to fly on a broken arrow.
that goes back to my point, right? We have actually a couple devs in the chat right now. And so it's like, we gave you all these cool tools. You can make mechs and you can do this. They're like, no. I want to jump on a bow and arrow backwards and break the level. That's what we want to do as speedrunners. And we're like, cool. As developers, we're like, cool. We're going to go cry now. That's awesome. I'm glad you found out how to break your collision. So that's awesome. Whether it was the 10 weapons and then destroying Ganon in like 6 hits, that was really cool to see. That was one of my favorite moments. Getting through the different collisions by making your actor like just lose it, that was pretty cool. That was.
There's a lot of rewatch ability. I know they use the word replayability, but rewatchability. As Cloud said, there were a few things that were missed. Had to reset a save. Had to when fighting the dragon, the demon Ganon missed something, right? And it was like, well, you guys get a flash cutscene anyways, and that it's like, wait, you could have done better. Like, it would have been really awesome to rewatch it. So I feel like, now that I know what I'm looking for, I'll be sitting there on the edge of my seat being like, oh, you can do it. So it's really fun to watch.
Yeah, speaking of that, it's nice to see, like, this is our first primer into Legend of Zelda any %. And so knowing now where that frame perfect jump off of the fish, right? I was like, oh, like, I love it when a speedrunner shares, like, oh, this is about to be really hard. And the chat's kind of like, ah, first try, baby, let's go.
I was sitting on the edge of my chair, be like, are you really gonna land on that deer? Like, how do you know where that deer is?
And how many times do you have to like do that until you're like, yep, that's the deer. That's the person. It's that's good. I'd be so mad if I had to work for Nintendo. They'd be like, yeah, Thor, you're gonna have to move that deer. They seem to be breaking the whole entire game. And I'm like, what's the deer ever do to you people? Like, come on. So I don't know. I 10 out of 10 would watch again. In fact, I will. I want to see.
I loved it. And I think what you're saying right now, Snark, is like, yes, I should play it. And yes, I should get a Nintendo Switch 2 and feel how good it feels to play. Because I haven't even finished it. So that gives me a reason to get the Nintendo Switch 2 and play Tears of the Kingdom. So I have something to aspire for.
And what's the best place to go get Switch 2s at?
Here on antonline.com/Switch2. Or just !Switch2 in chat. I simplified it for you. But if you guys haven't got your console, we are here to tell you, because we have to end the stream today. Unfortunately, it is the end. Thank you for joining me, Thor. Thank you, Church, so much for being an amazing host with Games Done Quick. If you guys haven't gotten your Switches, there will be a drop in exactly 10 minutes on Antonline.
There we go. I mean, you put the clock on and go over to Antonline, one-stop shop place for all things tech and technology and gaming, baby. There we go. It's been a good time. Antonline, games done quick, coming together, making a good show. This has been a great. This has been a dream come true for me.
And if you enjoyed the show, we do stream every single day on twitch.tv/Antonline. Big shout out to Games Done Quick for putting this production together, for putting the show together. We're simply here as your hosts on Antonline, but it was really Games Done Quick that made this magic happen. So big shout out to them. And thank you once again, Church, for being an amazing host.
And yeah, thank you for having us here, for partnering with us and allowing us to showcase some speedruns on your channel. It's been awesome to be here and really happy working with y'all.
Thank you again. And I know everyone has got things to do. The drop, once again, is going to be in 14 minutes. So tune in if you're trying to collect a Switch 2 here on Antonline. But it is time to roll out.
Just say goodbye. We'll see you in another 8 years for Switch 3, everybody. Oh, I tease. Yeah, make sure you're tuned into the socials on Antonline, especially Twitter. Happen to know the person who's running that Twitter behind the scenes, and they are keeping everybody abreast of the situation with every time they get more Switch 2s in. And it's always good to keep abreast of the situation for sure. Heck yeah.
Don't forget, every single day there is a deal of the day. A deal of the day every day on the tech and your favorite games. That's what we're here for, is to share that with you.
All right. Well, there we have it.
All right, we're all done.
Get out of here. We're done.
Have a great night, everyone.